All right, hello everyone and welcome. I hope that you guys are excited because I'm Mike and with me today are all of these guys and this is the 2023 MAARS Summit. So this is the second time that we've done this. Now I will tell you guys, Lloyd A. Green, accomplished author, he was supposed to be here. He actually was just on, but he's having some technical difficulties. We may or may not see him later. If he's not able to make it because of technical issues with making his microphone work and stuff. Totally understand. Oh, there he is, Lloyd A. Green. Okay, so he's trying to make his mic work. We hope that we get that fixed. Otherwise, we're doing it live, baby. That's how it's going. So, look, we have... okay, so can we get introductions from... Let me see. You guys can see my screen, right? You can see my screen? All of you guys? Okay. Can we start at the top left and everybody introduce themselves?
I'm Amber, Mike's best favorite sister.
Okay. And by the way, for everybody watching at home, everybody that's on has been on my YouTube channel. So Amber has been this year on my YouTube channel, so she's brought on. And then Lloyd can't talk right now, so Travis, if you want to take it away, just give yourself a little plug and introduction.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Travis. I'm the host of Oscar Mike Radio, and it's good to be here tonight.
All right, awesome. And then Steven?
Yep, Steven, Salty Skipper. I do Tales of Nihilism on Global Comics.
All right, awesome, excellent, great to have you. I'm going to fix this. Other Mike?
Yep, I'm Other Mike. I am the reason why Mike is married.
Yeah, that is true. Other Mike married us. And then Tommy Boy.
And I'm Tommy, also known as Tommy Boy. Just living life down here at Fort Cavazos.
All right, awesome. So it's great to have everybody here. We've already talked a little bit. We're going to talk about some stuff. So we talk about this all the time on the channel when political stuff comes up. Just want to give everybody a disclaimer. When political topics come up, we don't care. None of us care so much about political ideology, but we are going to talk about how that has been affecting our media. This is a big year for that. I think that this has been kind of a year of reckoning when it comes to political ideology in our media. So lots of crazy stuff. I'm looking over my notes here. A lot of stuff about Disney. We're going to cover some movies that have been delayed, some movies that have been canceled, some things going on with video games, and mostly movies, though. Mostly movies. Video games, I actually don't have big controversies to talk about or anything like that, but we'll get into it. So right now, I do just want to say that support our partners. Subscribe over on YouTube. We're going to be doing a cash giveaway of $500. We need less than 60 subscribers, so do that. But right now, we are going to go to ad break. So, we're going to go to ad break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to start the real show. So we'll see you guys after these short messages. The Action Pack needs you. You can support Mike's After Action Reviews on our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Every quarter, once we've made at least $200, we're going to be giving away 10% of our earnings from Patreon in a giveaway over on our Twitch, so go check that out as well. You can find all of the links for everything in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Do your part. Support the pack. The Action Pack. All right, guys, we are back. By the way, during the ad break, Lloyd A. Green actually popped up and I could see he wasn't muted anymore, so I think that he actually fixed his stuff. Lloyd, it looks like we can hear you. We can hear you. All right. Hey, guys, so listen. Lloyd A. Green, as always, is the star of the show. I'm sorry. I got to tell you guys, just so... No, for the panelists and for everybody watching, I have a great amount of respect for Lloyd. So I always kind of, what do you call it? Not pamper you, but like I always give you quite a bit of, fanfare. Yeah, there you
I
go.
know.
So Lloyd A. Green, if you want to, give us a plug and introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Lloyd A. Green. I run a YouTube channel called EndlessPerceptions.com, based basically on horror and sci-fi. And I've done some writing. I love my old high school, and I've done writing for them, writing just in general, in terms of my life, in general. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
All right.
So I can see everyone at the same time.
Okay. So there is that. Okay, awesome. So that is Lloyd A. Green. Great to have you. I'm so glad we got those issues fixed. Okay, so starting off, first of all, can I just ask you guys, let's just start at the beginning here. How did everybody like this year in, do you guys want to talk about, I'm going to ask this question for both, but movies and video games. How did you guys like movies this year? How was this year in movies? What do you guys think?
Meh.
I
Okay.
wasn't that excited.
No? Okay. Anybody, I was saying anybody can talk.
I'm a big Marvel fan.
Okay.
And I try not to live my life vicariously through Robert Downey Jr., but at the same time, there's something about the character of Iron Man that Marvel helped him to present that really, it made every other movie just take off when you just, combine it with or do it as a, what am I trying to say? All I'm saying is I love the Marvel extensions of Iron Man and everything else with it. But this year, for whatever reason, maybe it was COVID, maybe it was something else, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it started flopping, and I keep going to the theater hoping to have that entertainment feeling that I had before, but it's not working. And I almost feel like I'm going to see a DC movie or something. It's disappointing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of said in the beginning, I'm sure that you heard me because I know you were trying to fix your stuff, Lloyd, but I said in the beginning, I think that this has kind of been a year of reckoning when it comes to, not getting into the, again, like I said in the beginning, we're not going to get into the politics of this thing, but like, there's really been some agendas put into a lot of this stuff. And I think that it has supplanted the whole idea of what movies are, which is entertainment. And yeah, so I'm seeing the chat. That's just everybody in the chat is for, okay, that's Staff Sergeant Matt in the chat. What's going on, Staff Sergeant Matt? Yeah, so I just think that there's been, like you're saying, I think that we're starting to see where that has been going on so long with people wanting to put their own little, either putting themselves into the movie in a bad way. Like I instead of showing, Captain America or Iron Man, I want it to be me. I want the movie to be about me. I read a thing where it said, a good book tells you about the character and a bad book tells you about the author. And I think that that's happening to movies. You know what I'm saying? So, anybody else have any thoughts on that or something that Burning want to share?
Well, I think movies for me have kind of come and gone for me, and I was really done with movies until I went and saw Godzilla -1, and all of a sudden in the Valley of Darkness, in the desert of nothingness, an oasis of hope and inspiration appeared. Finally, we got a movie that was just a movie,
right,
with really, really interesting characters and human emotion. And, it'd be easy to sit there and make a judgment about the main protagonist. But you know what? Would I do the same thing if I was in his shoes? And then we have Godzilla. No fancy message, no overtones of any kind, just, monsters and humanity coming together. It gave me hope. And,
right.
There might be hope. There might be a way forward. And Hollywood can either take this and learn from it or just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, so I will say something that was great about Godzilla -1. So I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm always so busy seeing movies and stuff and then doing reviews, and I'm always behind, so I didn't get to see it. But you said it's Godzilla -1 is the title, right? It's -1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it was cheap. They said that they made that movie for less than $15 million. And I think that, like you're saying, there's hope. I think that you're right. If we can start making lower budget movies that are quality, well, like when I say lower budget, I don't mean like low budget. I mean lower than what, because everything is ballooning and becoming so expensive. Then we might get to see where Hollywood starts making some money, which will in turn make better movies. So, excuse me.
Yeah.
I think that you're absolutely right with that. So, what about? Okay, so now. Oh, go on. Go ahead.
I was gonna kind of go with Lloyd. He's talking about Iron Man, right? And if we all think back to the original Iron Man that came out, that was highly political. It's coming off the Iraq War. It had a lot of talking and intertwining that movie with themes of security versus freedom and all these other kind of things going into it. And it was still just an amazing movie, right? But I think a lot of the issue is when we're going to the movies today, you have to start with this like economic concept of like movies are just so expensive just to go to. The whole experience is so expensive nowadays that every time I go, I don't want to go just for, a normal casual movie. It has to be an amazing experience. And so if you don't get that amazing experience, you already feel cheated, you already feel, hurt. And so a lot of that gets lost. Whereas like, back when the first Iron Man came out, movies were cheap and readily, like everybody could just go out every weekend, go see a movie. Oh, it's $5. Yeah, cool. Let's go do that. Right. Yeah, now it's like, $100 if you want to take your family and go see a movie. That's a emotional investment,
Yeah. Actually, and I've heard that said before with a lot of different people. Like a lot of people have said the same thing. Like it's got to be a great movie or I'm not going. And I think that also on the flip side of that, you have the fact that not a lot of them are great movies. Hey, by the way, Staff Sergeant Matt is here. Hey, Staff Sergeant Matt, great to have you with us. Let me see. Oh, he's having problems with his mic now too. Oh, he'll get fixed. Oh, yeah. Can you hear us? Yeah, he can. He's got it set to his headphones.
Twice the sound.
I'll be right.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. Hey, Staff Sergeant Matt, why don't you tell us what you thought of movies this year, just in general? Like, what were your thoughts on how the movie industry did this year?
Overall, I think we've had better movies in the past years.
Yeah. This has not been the greatest thing for sure. The box, it's shown in the box office too. Just some information for you guys. I have references for everybody watching. I have references for all of this stuff. I'm gonna utilize those references in some instances where it's really needed. Otherwise, reading a bunch of different stuff is gonna take a long time. But I do have references. You'll be able to get the references when I post the video on YouTube and stuff like that. Okay, but the box office has gone down. I'm talking about the total box office numbers is way down. I think it's like 30% less than it has been in even before the pandemic, and during the pandemic we had almost this like box office almost seems like I'm trying to remember just off the top of my head without looking at it. The box office I think actually was about the same or better during the pandemic, which is like very strange. So, Amber, do you have any thoughts on the movie industry this year in general?
I've been pretty limited to kids' movies. Barbie movie, Trolls Band Together. So
okay. Well, how are the kids' movies?
I loved them. I thought they were pretty great, actually. I like the messages.
I think that I think that a problem with it though is that Disney. Like with Disney anyway, is that it's all of those movies, the Barbie movie, the Mario movie, those movies are not Disney movies.
Mario movie was pretty great. That's on a repeat in our house.
Elemental was another good one. Elemental was by Disney, but
Yeah.
I really love that one.
So and I agree with you. Elemental was good, but the problem with it is that the sentiment, and this is the big issue. This is the big issue with Disney anyway. And we'll get more into Disney, but the sentiment with Disney movies is that like they've lost the family because of certain things that has gone on with their movies, and so a lot of people have said, if it's a Disney movie, I'm just not even going to take the chance, and then they wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. And so, did I go see? I didn't go see Disney movies unless they were really big and I needed to review them. But like, I didn't take my kids to go see animated movie Elemental. I waited for it to be on Disney Plus. I looked up to make sure that it was basically kid friendly and didn't have anything in it I didn't want my kids to see. And then once I verified that, then I watched it on Disney Plus with my children. I didn't go see it in theaters with my kids. They didn't. You see what I'm saying? Even if it was good, the sentiment behind some of these movies is bad.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. And then the economics. Then you add in economics of it, and you're like, well, forget it. Definitely not going to go see a movie. So,
Yeah.
and then also, okay. So then I would like to flip over to the other side of things. If nobody else has any other comments on the movie industry, just in general thoughts. The video game industry. I know that a couple people don't really play video games, but what did we think of games this year?
I'm still stuck on Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Okay. Older game. Yeah. I will tell you, my main thing is the video game reviews. And I've got to say that we've had some really good games, and almost all of the really good games, almost all of the best games that came out this year, in my opinion, were from smaller studios. So I started playing a game called Atom RPG. I actually sent an email over to Travis. Did you check it out, Travis? Atom RPG.
Didn't get a chance to download it yet, but I did check it out.
Yeah, so it's like an old Fallout game, but I started doing Atom RPG. I've been playing a couple of different games in my free time for fun. RoboCop Rogue City. I've talked to a couple of people about. I put up a thing on my YouTube channel. I'm going to turn this on so I can look at my YouTube channel, and then I'm going to have to hit mute real quick there you go. Okay. So RoboCop Rogue City was one that I really liked. That was a smaller studio that was from Nacon and Teon. God of War is always great, though. That's the thing. God of War came out and was a big name one. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, smaller studio. Just a lot of video games that I've seen come out this year that were great, like really genuinely great to me, were like smaller studios. Anybody else have any other thoughts they want to put out there right away about video games?
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go ahead. Steve.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you got what is it? Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate and
Baldur's Gate. Yep.
Just like Cat Williams starting out, 2024, they're shaking it up in the industry, and they're going after, all these bigger studios that have, made their entire business structure on all these microtransactions, and they're like, we aren't going to do that. We're fighting back on every single platform that tries to force us down that road, and we're not going to do it at all.
Right. Travis, what were you going to say?
So, to echo Stephen, I think Baldur's Gate 3, surprisingly to me, was really, technological improvement from BG1 and BG2, which I played it with friends over dial-up. It really captured the spirit of Baldur's Gate, even if you are or are not a D&D fan. And then I'm in the minority here from a lot of people, but I am just loving Starfield right now. I'm a big Skyrim fan, but there's something about just exploring a planet and figuring out how I'm going to do certain things that I just really like. And I know it's getting a lot of hate, but I don't really care. I enjoy it. I like it. A couple of things I'd like to see improve, but I enjoy the game. I enjoy the experience. So I think, to Steven's point, you don't have to be a big studio to have success. And if you are a big studio, though, you really got to listen to what your fan base wants and then find a way to innovate.
Yeah. I will say, though, also, Baldur's Gate is not only a smaller studio, it's a small studio, but it's also basically was rated as a double A game. And it won, and it actually, we're going to get into this, but it won some awards at the Game Awards this year. Yeah, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I just think that, just going over, scrolling through my YouTube channel, because honestly, I tell people I have early onset dementia, so I forget which video games all of the video games I do. God of War was good, like Gotham Knights. I mean, that was a while ago. I talked about Gotham Knights. Like that one was basically pretty bland. Let me see. Forspoken. That was. Can you guys see my YouTube channel? I have it pulled up right now. Can you guys see it on my shared screen? No. Okay. One second. Let me.
I see two screens for you, but they both look basically the same.
Okay. One second. Let me go like this, because that's the screen that I actually need you guys to see. Okay. Cool. So.
There you go.
Okay, so yeah, like Forspoken, I was extremely disappointed in it. Hogwarts Legacy, I liked. It wasn't perfect. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I thought it was good, not as good as the first one. Alien Dark Descent. Aliens Dark Descent was great, but that's a smaller studio. Starfield, you already talked about. I think that Starfield was both good and bad. So I can definitely see where people like it, and I definitely see where people don't like it. But a lot of even Marvel Spider-Man 2 was heavily criticized, and I definitely don't think it was as good as the first one. I did my review. You guys can go check out my review and talk about it. So I think that even if you liked this year, I think that we can all kind of agree that it was definitely disappointing for video games. Permanthanos in the chat says Gollum had a pretty great story in spite of its flaws. I think that Gollum was probably the worst game this year because of its flaws, though. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, Promanthanos. I played through that, and I was going to do a review, and I hit a bug where I couldn't progress anymore, and I turned it off and said, I can't put up, I'm not dealing with this anymore. That was a big thing. Did anybody else play Gollum?
No, and I refuse to. I was like, just starting out with the premise, I don't need to know Gollum's backstory and get crazy into Gollum's thing. If you read Lord of the Rings, you read The Hobbit, and you've watched the movies, and you've played all the games that they've had, we know enough about that character. Give us lore that we haven't seen yet.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that game, I don't know. I thought that the idea I actually thought the idea could be cool to play like a stealth game where you're basically killing orcs. I thought it was going to be like Escape from Butcher Bay with Riddick, or something like that. And it just turned out to be the exact nothing. It was a nothing burger. So let's jump in here. If you guys are all right, I think that Disney a good place to start for you guys? You guys want to talk about Disney? I think that Disney encapsulates a lot of what was good and a lot of what was bad all in one go. So I took a bunch of notes. These are in kind of chronological order, so I'm going to be jumping around in my notes a little bit to kind of stick to the narrative here. Let's talk about going way back in the year. Let's talk about Star Wars. All right. Have you guys seen? So Star Wars kind of died last year. Who agrees with me? 2022
Yeah.
Star Wars kind of died.
Yeah, it's something about. I mean, I'm all for new characters. So Rey, I think is her name, and it was entertaining up to a limit. There's something surrounding the character. And this is going back a couple of years. But that it didn't grab me the way the original Star Wars did, and then it just didn't. And I don't know. Here we go with the political. I try not to be a chauvinist about it. Like you've got to have the male show. Jedis and blah blah blah, but it's just that when you take the time to establish a character or a certain thing,
right,
and you take a left turn, you have to give good foundation and reason.
Right.
And they tried to do a backstory with her, but I wasn't feeling it. And anything new that sprung from that up to currently, I kind of like Mandalorian or whatever. I'm trying to stay on the theme here, but it's just not grabbing me. That's not getting it as much.
Yeah. So to kind of, I just want to say, just, to kind of sum up the whole argument around the problems with the original Star Wars, the sequel series here is just like, people called Rey, this is kind of talking about political stuff, but I mean, people called Rey and Mary Sue. And I think that she actually was. She didn't have the proper setup to be as powerful as she was. She didn't have, and that has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman or any of that stuff. I'm just saying, I just didn't see her become narratively interesting like you are describing. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. You said The Mandalorian, so you brought it up. Okay, what did you think of The Mandalorian season 3?
Honestly, I haven't seen season 3.
Okay.
There's something about it. I saw season 1 and 2, and it, to me, 2 seems to be slowing down or repetitious or whatever, and I just haven't had the enthusiasm to go into 3 yet. And I might be delighted, but I just haven't caught up with it yet.
All right, so I would like to show you guys, and we can kind of all talk about it. By the way, just for you guys who are on the panel, interrupt me as much as you want. I'm trying to kind of guide things a certain way, but please interrupt me so that we can get your comments in. Okay. Okay, check this out. Here it is, Mandalorian season 3. 85% critics, all critics. Top critics is 80%, and then audience score 51%. If we kind of look at it, I'm not going to go into it because of time. I'm not going to go into reading a bunch of stuff because of time. But basically, the consensus that I found is a lot of people are saying a massive drop in quality between season 2 and season 3, and a lot of people are irritated because they brought in Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan is a female Mandalorian, and this 3rd season is all about her. And again, this is where we're talking about kind of ideologically here. You have a drop in quality. The Star Wars people themselves have said the Force is female. We want female representation, all this stuff, which would be fine, except when you do that instead of having a good show, rather than doing it and making a good show, you have some problems. So that's a thing that a lot of people were irritated with. And then also, I'll just add to this. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter, and I have some notes on. Here's the article, but I'm going to real quick read you the spark notes that I wrote down. Interestingly, and adding some credence to the blowback, the complaints aren't centered around one thing, but rather a miasma of grievances ranging from plotting and dialogue to unconvincing special effects to jarring cameos like Lizzo and Christopher Lloyd and Jack Black. Fans have naturally been kind of brutal to this, saying a massive drop in quality. This show has transformed out of all recognition. No longer is it the man with no name in space, but the man with no purpose in space. The show is not Mando's show anymore. Plot points are dropped for convenience, nonsensical quests, and the worst, by far, worst acting I've seen in Star Wars. The show is not Mando's anymore, brings up another chief complaint, as the season has been given increased screen time to fellow Mandalorian Bo-Katan and less to the protagonist Din Djarin. One Mandalorian director suggested Din Djarin isn't necessarily the show's titular character anymore, which is rather odd. So then who is the Mandalorian at this point? And I think that it could be anyone, is what they said. So you guys can find all of that in this article. I'm just not going to, just for time, I'm not going to scroll through that. When this goes up on YouTube, I'll put links and stuff, okay? So, I mean, I think that, excuse me, I think that this, like I said, I in the beginning, I think that this has kind of been a year of reckoning where it's like you're in the entertainment industry. We want to be entertained. We know that you have your own ideas, but this entertainment medium is not about you. It's about the stories you're trying to tell. So tell us the story rather than talking about what you politically believe as far as this identity politics stuff. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of that's happened with the
social pressure.
Oh, what's that? Let's go with Matt.
A lot of it is the social pressure. Right now with the evolution of the women and then the color. If you look at advertisements now on TV even, you can see them. There's always mixed couples the movies are now going towards stronger females reaching men. So it's a social switch.
Okay. And then Mike, you said you want to say?
Yeah, I think ever since Star Wars went over to Disney, it seems like it's just gone downhill from there. I'm not saying it's all bad, but there's things they check the block for before they do the shows, and that's probably what's killing them. They're too concerned about hurting people's feelings instead of just having the show out there that, good movie makes people frustrated. It's like, why did they do that? That was so dumb, why are they going in that direction? We love that in movies and shows. And they don't do that. Now they just they have to put something in there that checks the block of whatever their agenda is.
Disney's had a lot of internal corporate strife, this year, and you also got to remember the writers' strike happened this year as well, and with movies, you're going to see that kind of fallout happen this year from all the writers that were on strike, but with TV and stuff like that, a lot of the times they're doing all this pre-writing, one season, one TV season before the next TV season. So it's a lot quicker. So you're seeing all this kind of basically piss poor planning. You're seeing all of this confusion, all of this internal conflict that's going on, and it's spreading out. The two best Star Wars series that happened this year, Ahsoka and Andor. Ahsoka was great. That's what we all look for in Star Wars, and there's no problem with having a female protagonist. She's a mentor, and all of this. It's an amazing character, right? But the whole season was rushed, and then you get to the end of it, and you're just kind of left hanging, and you're like, wait, we've been building up for this thing this whole season, and then you don't even give a climax. There's nothing to even give anything to keep this going. You're just left, and then we know that the main antagonist, he physically died, so now we're all left wondering, are they even going to have a concluding season to go on with Baylor and all that. And then the other problem you see is the planning issue. They released Andor, right? And Andor was a great show, and I thought the whole prison breakout and the whole complexities behind the rebel strife and seeing all these backstories and stuff like that come out, it was great. But the planning part was awful, because this should have been done 2-3 years ago when they were releasing all the other Star Wars movies, so that we could get that context behind, why Star Wars happened in the first place and all this other kind of stuff. Here we are, you've got, the 3 sequel trilogies with Rey and, other things going on, and now they're just releasing this Andor thing. And then they wasted all that time, in previous years making a Han Solo movie and all this other crap that you don't need. And you see, Disney across the board.
Isn't that the theme with Star Wars, though? I mean, they started out with Episode 4, after all. I mean, before giving the backstory initially. So
you're talking about
just following their trend.
The planning? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, when I compare what Marvel did years back, first you looked at the original comic books, and he's getting ready to talk about Iron Man. It seems like they put into the original movie how Iron Man was in the gray suit and the big funky suit, and just like in the comic books, and stages, they did it within a half hour or whatever, progressed to the red, yellow suit. But at the same time, there was a basis, there was history, and they appreciated that, and they built on that foundation, and they moved forward, and there were so many original ideas. The thing I loved about Star Wars, the original Star Wars, even though, and it was really crazy how they did start at number 4, and then made you curious about how they put the number 1 in the front, but that's not had nothing to do with anything. Okay, but then they just built in from that. And it's just like it's like there was so much imagination and they had built a foundation and moving from there. But what's going on with the movies and Mandalorian and all of these, it's like imagination is gone. It's just built on how can we make a buck by extending the sequel to a sequel to a sequel, because we know what they like and we're just going to give them more instead of doing something original, something totally left turn, taking a chance. I have here that Disney is in debt by only $46 billion. So I guess they are forced to rethink some of their processes. But
Yeah.
Someone had said before about it costs so much money to go to the movies and such, and that's agreed. People would rather stay home, watch streaming or whatever. It's a lot cheaper. But I have always been an avid moviegoer. I still love when I save movies now for that special something. And I was looking just yesterday. Okay, I'm going to plan out my month for moviegoers. And I am definitely going to see Godzilla -1. That's still in the theater right now? Or where is it?
It's actually in less theaters. An interesting thing is that it is in less theaters than other movies right now, so it might not be in a theater in your area. But just a fun fact, it's making more money than most of the AAA movies that are in all of the theaters. And it's making more money right now than Aquaman 2 is, and Aquaman 2 is in all the theaters. Yeah.
Poor Aquaman.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm just looking for something original, a spark, something that will set afire the industry again, or even if there's a particular character. I mean, I got very sad with. I'm in agreement about Andor and Ahsoka being the two best at this point, because they're really entertaining. I hope there's something more interesting afterwards. I just get, when you bring people up to a point and it's just like, okay, we might even get canceled type of thing. And it's very discouraging. Oh, I know one more thing I want to say. With Mandalorian, I can't remember the female character that's with him that I think you said that...
Bo-Katan?
The series is, she's the one that played Starbuck, right? In Battlestar.
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I cannot get Starbuck out of my mind when I am watching her on Mandalorian. I mean, like what happened to Christopher Reeves, you know? You get stuck in this thing that you just see this person. I cannot see her as that character. And I feel like sometimes they're using her face for popularity, which she's a decent enough actress. But I just need more. I need more foundation. I need something greater than they're giving right now.
Yeah. Well, I want to be clear. I want to be clear about this. This is something that I tell my wife all the time. And my wife, she kind of is just your average moviegoer, just going to the movie and doesn't care about it. You know, a lot of the deeper messages, a lot of things and stuff. And so I'll see something and I'll be like, do you see what they did there? They did this with the character. And my wife will be like, oh, that's not what they meant. But the thing, and I could give it to you, right? I could give it to you. But the problem is that the producers and the directors and everybody, they said, this is what we're trying to be. We are trying to do it this way. It's like, well, so then I have to attribute it to that.
Well, see, I liked Bo-Katan. I liked the actress. I liked how she portrayed Bo-Katan, but the problem was the entire struggle that happened in the second season to get the Darksaber became completely meaningless. And like this entire story arc that had been built up for 2 seasons about how important, Mandalorian culture is and how like we're all supposed to behave this way. And we have like a ultra, zealot religious faction of Mandalorians that believe this way. And the Darksaber is the most important thing. And then they come through with season 2 and they're like, yeah, the Darksaber is not really that important anymore. And we're just going to give it over to Bo-Katan. And we're just going to they just consistently crapped on the first 2 seasons, on their own story, and you're just like, okay, well, so now I'm not supposed to take any of these characters and their struggles seriously anymore because you just came out and said none of it's important.
Yeah. I think. Well, and it's interesting because if you draw the juxtaposition too, that's what they did in the sequel series, is that they basically said like Luke and all of that. None of that's important. Now it's just about this Rey. I do want to talk to you guys, kind of moving this forward, if it's okay. Like I said, please do interrupt me anytime that you want to interrupt me. Okay. I want to bring this up here. So, the next movie. Do you know what their plan? Do you know what their plan is for the future? Listen to this. Okay. Oh, well, let me just ask you. So, I'll kind of make this statement, then I'll tell you this. I think that everybody wanted to see Luke Skywalker be the big Jedi, right? And maybe rebuild the Jedi Order and move the story forward from where we left it off, and instead they did what they did with him. Okay, so this is from Collider. So Daisy Ridley is actually set to play. This is Rey. Is set to play in a new Star Wars TV series. She's also set to play in like 3 different movies. They've been delayed now. They don't know when they're going to release them, so we don't have a release date. But it's right here. I'll switch it over so the audience can see. So this is so new movie series right here. Okay, they're going to start a new trilogy, and this is what she's going to be doing. I'm going to open my notes so I can see this. This is what it says. So, okay, of the 3 featured films announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023, the biggest surprise was the sequel trilogy. Daisy Ridley will be returning to Star Wars franchise as Jedi Master Rey. Disney recently announced that it had scoped out 3 different release dates. That doesn't matter anymore because now they've said that it's delayed. They don't know exactly when it's going to be. So the movie is confirmed to pick up after the events of Episode 9 and effectively functioning as a sequel to the rise of Skywalker. Kathleen Kennedy confirmed that the film will introduce an all-new era to the Star Wars timeline, officially titled The New Jedi Order. As such, the film is expecting to follow Rey as she works to rebuild the Jedi Order now that her grandfather, Emperor Palpatine, and the sinister First Order have been defeated. Okay. So what they did with Star Wars is they said, hey, you know what that thing you wanted to see Luke do? Well, we're not going to have him do it. We're going to have this other lady that nobody cares about. She's going to be the one to do it. Why? Why? At this point, it's like burning money.
Mike, I think the only one who made out on Star Wars was George Lucas when he sold it.
Yes. Yeah. I got to tell you, so Disney has lost over $1 billion this year in the box office, just this one year. Okay, lost $1 billion. Okay, they spent $3 billion, 3 or 4. They spent either $3 or $4 billion on Star Wars, and not a single movie that they've released on Star Wars, except for the first one, has made any money. They have not recouped their money yet, and it's been years since they sold Star Wars. I think that you are absolutely correct. Lucasfilm are the only people, George Lucas is the only people who made any money and had made any benefit from Star Wars being, with Disney. So, kind of continuing on here, then let's talk about this one. Oh, sorry, if there's anybody else, anything else on Star Wars? Nope. Okay, so let's talk about this.
With all that merchandising and all the children that could run behind emulating such, and there's so much potential, and for it to just, I don't know if it's a political piece, I'm not even sure what it was really, or lack of imagination to take the chances, but I just think it's sad because when I hear things about how much of the merchandise, money they make on merchandise,
yeah.
Well, that's the business of all entertainment. It's the movies, the books, the comics, all that kind of stuff. That's not where these companies make money. They make money through their intellectual property rights and renting them, selling them, and like you said, merchandising and stuff like that. So all of these kind of things, that you can't just say like these movies lost money, so that's a bad thing, because they're throwing that money out as advertisements for what their actual business is, which is intellectual property rights and merchandising. The problem is the advertising that they're using right now for all this stuff sucks. And you know.
Well, I do want to be very clear, and I track this stuff just because of like my YouTube channel and stuff. Merchandise is down. Okay. They recently lost money. They spent so many millions of dollars building a new hotel that nobody went to, and now they closed it. Like they've actually, like, not only did they not made money on the movies, but like if you go to stores, there's people who, and I don't have a reference for this, but there's people who go to stores and you can watch YouTube videos where they'll see piles and piles of discounted Star Wars action figures because nobody cares about the characters.
Yeah. My daughter, you know, when these first came out, me and my daughter went to go see them, and you know, she didn't want like a lightsaber from Rey. She didn't want like, you know, a Rey outfit. She wanted a Darth Vader lightsaber and a Darth Vader helmet.
Right.
You know, like those characters were more intense, and she got it. She's like, okay, I don't like what I saw in the movie. I want the old stuff.
Hey, Mike, I think the problem is that it's like Bruce Lee. After he died, they tried to remake him, and they never could. And it wasn't until Jackie Chan came along that they did something new that worked.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to clean the whole slate and start over with something new. I mean, there's great books out there that have been written. And that's where you get good movies from, good books that have been written.
Well, okay, I actually, if you guys are all right, then I think that's a good place to move on to the next point about Disney here. The remakes, okay, remakes. Look at this. So the live action remake of The Little Mermaid. Let's look here 1 second. Live action for The Little Mermaid cost over $300 million to make, and if you look here, worldwide it made $560 million. But you have to remember that, so the what you do is you double it. So it needed to make $600 million to break even. Okay, to make a profit, it needed like between 700 million and a billion. Okay, okay. So then you had let's see. So they had Star Wars. They had that one. You had now they're even talking about doing like Harry Potter. You have the Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch now is going to have a remake. You have Peter Pan and Wendy. Peter Pan and Wendy did the same thing. So Peter Pan and Wendy, didn't Peter Pan and Wendy went straight to Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Peter Pan and Wendy, check this out. Total critic score, 50, all critics 64%, top critics 54%, audience score 11%. Okay, these movies, when you talk about making something new, like they don't have anything new. And so what they do is they remake everything. You've got the Snow White. Snow White has had a bunch of controversies. So if you guys are tracking this, so they cast this Rachel Ziegler, and she came out and said she didn't even like the movie, the original movie. She said that the prince was a creep in the original movie. Okay? Peter Dinklage, he came out and said that he thought that, so this is from a CBS article. Again, I'm going to put the links and everything. So Peter Dinklage said he was taken aback by Disney's upcoming remake of Snow White, calling it a backward story about 7 dwarves living in a cave. They're very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, but they're still telling the story of Snow White and the 7 dwarves. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there, you know. It makes no sense to me, Dinklage, who has a form of dwarfism, said on Mark Martin's WTF podcast. So what they did is they canceled, they got rid of, get this is the craziest thing. So they got rid of the 7 dwarves, okay, and then I'm going to show you guys some photos. They got rid of the 7 dwarves, okay. They replaced them with the, one second, I got all these things popping up. They replaced the 7 dwarves with these guys. Okay, you guys all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, they replaced the 7 dwarves with these guys. These were going to be the 7 dwarves now. And the idea was to have diversity and inclusion included in the 7 dwarves. Then this leaked, okay? And when it leaked, when it leaked, it had huge backlash because everybody says this looks cheap, it looks terrible. So initially they denied it, that it was real, and then they said, no, actually it is real, but they're not official photos that we took, so you can't really, okay. And then they said, now we're going to have dwarves, but they're going to be CGI. So now the dwarf people who were originally going to be the 7 dwarves, by the way, they're not people with dwarfism, they're a separate mythological race of dwarves, so it has nothing to do with real life, okay? They're mad because they lost their jobs. The viewers are mad because they're getting CGI dwarves. What is Disney doing? And that's exactly my point of, like, when you say politically correct, I don't think it's so much of a political issue as it is just a cultural one. Like, we're kind of in this weird area where everybody's trying to do this different beliefs system, like, and it's just like people really, I don't think that normal people believe or think this way. And so it's like a weird, it's like a weird situation.
Social correctness.
Say that again?
Social correctness.
Yeah, social correctness. Yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts? Did you guys anything about the Snow White? You guys been following that?
This whole thing that's either going on with the movies, media, whatever, it's driving me crazy. Every era will have its set of beliefs, prejudices, everything. I mean, that's just, we are human beings. We are going to have them. At the time when they made Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and you go to the theater and you're laughing at these little guys living in the house with a woman and such, and you're taking it from whatever point of view that the society is at that time. And whether they were making fun of them, whatever they were doing. And then you bring that into, now the thing that makes me crazy is to first take the idea that you have the need to even try to recreate this now is asinine. Because it's like, why? Why you want to say Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and well, that's not political, right? So let's call it Snow White and the 7 Little People. Oh no, well, in terms of them being hired or not being part of the industry or whatever, you got to have a certain all of these standards. It just drives me crazy that why not just take totally new ideas,
right,
and something to get them to take a chance? Because the only thing you're going to do, like the thing that happened with Little Mermaid, I sat at home and watched the Little Mermaid remake, and I liked it. But I also remember when the original came out, and I went with my kids to see it. They lost their minds. I lost my mind. I'm running around the house. I have to get the soundtrack. I'm singing these songs. I'm amazing them because I have all the words and such. I really love the movie. And I look at this. I said, okay, it's the same thing. Why did they remake this movie? Not because...
And they took out all the best songs.
Yeah. They did that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like it was a live action cartoon. So what? I mean, I was disappointed. I mean,
when Flounder came on the screen, my daughter started like heaving and being like, "What is this?
Is that the crab?" No.
That's when we turned it off.
Actually. Is it? Did you actually turn it off?
Yeah, I didn't even want to watch it anymore. It just wasn't. It didn't feel right.
That crab looked real, and I said, "Why is a realistic looking crab crawling around this woman? Get him away!"
I agree.
Well, think about the toys. Think about the toys. Like, I could go out to the river with a fishing pole and catch a fish, wrap it in plastic, and bring it home to my kids and be like, "Hey, this is that new action figure from the new Disney remake." It's like, why don't I heard somebody. It's commonly a thing that it's kind of going around YouTube and content creators in this space where they say, "Look, style outlasts realism every time because." We're always going to be able to make things more real, but we're not always going to be able to make things as cool and unique as an individual artist's vision. And what about that song? Seriously, I just got to mention it because we're talking about it. That song by Aquafina, the bird song where the bird is like, wah, wah. And I was like, my God.
Yeah.
You guys are, and okay. I want to highlight something. I don't necessarily. I know that we've already kind of talked about this. I want to highlight something that I haven't said it yet, but we're kind of going around this issue, and I don't want to spend too much time on it necessarily. But I do just want to say, when the Little Mermaid came out, everybody got mad because they said people don't like it because the actress is black. Maybe some people, okay, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that racism is necessarily all wiped out and there's nobody's a racist, okay. Okay, maybe. But I think that people's main problem really was the things that we're talking about. Okay, you're never going to beat the original. Stop trying to remake stuff. Okay, and then Peter Pan. There was some political stuff about there's girls and the Lost Boys, but that's not the reason nobody liked it. The reason that nobody liked it is because the movie was bad. Okay, my thing is, imagine if that movie came out and people criticized it. And then instead of coming out and saying, oh, well, for political reasons, you're a bad guy, you're a racist, you're a whatever, everybody, the directors and the actors just shut their mouth and watched what happened. And then there wouldn't have been that big of a controversy behind it. You see what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I'm talking about the sentiment. Like, the sentiment for these movies is bad because the director and the actors will come and attack you if you have a criticism of the movie. Why don't you just shut up and let people, like, you're not helping the movie doing that. You know what I'm saying?
I think what people have lost in trying to be, dare I say, Democrat, Republican, or whatever, conservative, liberal, what they've lost in all of this is that this is flipping fantasy. Okay?
Right.
I remember years ago when they talked about, there's a black Santa sitting over there and have children come over to see the black Santa. And this one woman was irate. And they said, well, what's your problem? Everybody knows Santa Claus is white. And it's like, wait a minute. Does she realize that Santa Claus is a fantasy?
Right, exactly.
Her anger, and in that where you can't, if you have a man in a suit with children sitting on their lap, he's got to be of a certain color and such, and that it has nothing to do with that. I mean, people have lost sight of the entertainment piece, and that's why when I keep saying we might as well start making up new ideas, because everybody just kind of like tiptoeing around, hoping they don't step on somebody's toes. But this only way you get anything done is by taking chances sometimes, and you want to be polite and respectful always, but it's like I'm glad I'm not a movie producer right now. I know they're coming up with new stuff all the time, but it's a scary time.
So hey, I just want to let you guys know we have about 4 minutes left. I want to bring up one last thing because because Lloyd brought this up. So again, I was talking about before, Lilo and Stitch. Again, interrupt me if you guys have comments you want to make, okay? Lilo and Stitch, live action movie, okay? Controversy. I want to show you guys the controversy here. All right, so this is from Screen Rant, okay? Here it is. The link will be down below. Okay, so they're unhappy. Disney fans are unhappy with the Lilo and Stitch live action casting. Basically, I'm just going to read it from my notes, but you guys can see it over there. So it's Sydney Agudong. Have you heard of her? She's going to be Lila in the she's going to be Lilo in the Lilo and Stitch. So they're casting that has everyone up in arms. She was cast as Lilo's older sister and guardian Nani. Sorry, she's going to play Nani. The actress is from the island of Hawaii, but her skin tone is much lighter than the Lilo and Stitch characters is. So fans were furious that Disney would cast a light-skinned actress as a dark-skinned character because the live-action film had the ability to give representation to an actress with a darker complexion. Now, I'm just saying basically, I'm bringing this up to almost mimic exactly like what you just said. Like, these are fake characters. Do people really care about this? I think, and my point is that I think that people do get mad, but I think that it's a lot fewer people than Disney. Like, Disney and all these people, they write these articles and make it out like everybody's upset and everybody's got to be the right color and everybody's got to be the right political belief and everybody's got to be. But I think that actually more than 50% of the population is like, look, man, I don't care. Just make a good movie for my kids. And don't mention anything about politics or any weird stuff that I don't want my kids to see in a show. I think this would, is it?
Go back to you go back to the Little Mermaid, and my daughter, she's like 13, right? Little Mermaid comes out, and my daughter didn't have a remark on that movie about the characters, and how they looked. She didn't have anything to say about, King Triton's daughter, even though they were like, 9 different races, one dude that kind of looks a little weird. Her whole beef was like they left out Ursula's song. Flounder looks gross, and she didn't like the seagull song either. It was all about like this story doesn't work, and I don't like this music.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is like nobody actually cares about what you like, but then you try to use it as a shield. You try to use I think that's what happens. You try to use it as a shield. You try to say like, oh, it's because the character is black, or because the character is not even though she was Hawaiian, she's not dark enough. So now all criticism, we're going to blame it on that and say that everybody who's criticizing us is of the wrong political belief. And then what ends up happening is the controversy. It's like nobody cared about the black character, but the controversy that you have now created, that's the thing that people care about. So they would like, I'll go see a movie with a black character, but I won't go see a movie with a black character if I'm going to be called racist for not liking the movie's writing. You see what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. So listen,
can't have a civil conversation, Michael. They can't have a civil conversation about anything. If you say something, then they attack your character. And that's what's happening in movies today. If you say anything wrong, then you're such and such. I mean, that's the problem.
All right. Listen, hey, so we've got the ad break coming up in about 10 seconds, guys. So we're going to come back. We're going to move on to another segment here, kind of a different topic, onto some other things. So we will see you guys after these short messages. Okay, here we go. I love my awesome Support the Troops Stormtrooper mug. Do you know where you can get a mug just like this one, but different? Bottega Krua. Bottega Krua is an Italian born and raised artisan trained at the Academy of Fine Arts in Venice, Italy. Since 2010, Bottega Krua has offered unique handmade and hand-painted ceramics, pottery, and other artistic products. You can find these products at her Etsy store by following the link down below. She also takes custom orders, but they may take longer to ship because she has to make them after you order them. So, go check out Bottega Krua to get yourself an awesome mug just like this one, or the ones you've been seeing behind me as this ad has been going on. Remember, guys, supporting our partners is supporting the pack, the Action Pack. All right, everybody, we're back. Thank you for being with us. So, Travis from Oscar Mike Radio had to leave. Just letting you guys go check out Oscar Mike Radio. They're really great. They're a podcast. He does a podcast about veterans and soldiers and people who have served. So go check them out. There's a link down in the description below. Okay. Okay, so we kind of talked about the quality of life at Disney. I would like to talk to you guys and just see what your thoughts are. I know that see what your thoughts are about this. So somebody mentioned earlier, and I have it in my notes here. Disney is going through some turmoil right now as far as like even business. Yeah, internal strife. So basically, one second. I have a new invitation. Basically, Ike Perlmutter, he worked for Disney, and he was part of Marvel. He actually ran Marvel. He ran Marvel Entertainment, which was the comic book wing of Marvel. And he was fired, but he actually is the highest individual shareholder in Disney. And he is trying, he said this, he said that he didn't want Disney to become political, and so he was fired. That's what he claims in an article to The Hollywood Reporter. So what he's doing right now is he has given all of his share power to the Tryon Group, and they are trying to get board members put on Disney. So we do have some hope. There's an article here. I'll show you guys the article real quick for the audience. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter. Basically, he said, look, don't get involved in politics. And Disney, actually, interestingly enough, Disney's Bob Iger has actually now said that they're going to continue to get involved in politics. And then later he said that they want to get out of politics. But anyway, so we do have some hope.
I'd say politics isn't the problem. And like I, referred before, Iron Man, the first one, totally political. It's you have to put the story and the characters first. Like that needs to be this is an entertainment value. And, with your medium, you're telling a story. So the story, the plot, and the characters has to come first.
Yeah. Well, it's subtext. I think it's subtextual and it's getting themes. I think that if something is true enough and good enough, then even if it's giving you a message, even if it talks, like the subject matter talks about things that are necessarily political, you can still get, like work hard, fight the bad guy, whatever, be an honorable, good person, and whatever message that we usually should be getting in our entertainment. I'm just talking about. So I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that Disney, if this guy Ike Perlmutter, if he can get a board member, basically the thing is that if they can get a board member, that means that they can start really affecting the way that Disney is making these movies. And this Tryon group is trying to come in here. And basically, he sees the potential, this Tryon group sees the potential of Disney to make money. And if they stop trying to push these political narratives to the forefront of their stories. So I think that we have hope. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that it happens, though. Here at Mike's After Action Reviews, my personal opinion, not of everybody on the panel, but my personal opinion is I hope that Disney basically gets a hostile takeover here from Bob Iger, so that way we can stop all of this stuff. Like, it is so crazy. It's been a crazy thing.
So that's the movie that's breaking records and made the most money. I think it's Disney. I think it's a Disney movie. Yeah.
Are you talking about Super Mario Bros. Movie?
Right. Oh yeah. Big time. 1.36 billion worldwide. For whatever reason, that is a safe movie and people enjoy it worldwide. And
yeah. So.
Know how many stepping on.
Let me tell you guys. Let me show you guys this. So here we go. So this is So it's not Disney. This is not Disney. This is a Disney competitor. It's not. So this is the Super Mario Bros. Movie, panned by critics. Top critics 59%. Sorry, all critics 59%. Top critics 42%. Audience score 95 and 94. All right, 1.36 billion, just like you said. It has now taken, this is from Nintendo Life here, after passing $1 billion market at the global box office last month, the movie has now climbed past Disney's 2013 animated hit Frozen.
They were comparing this. Okay.
Yeah, so they are actually beating Disney. The latest figures reveal Mario movie has now made a whopping 1.2, so at this point 1.3 billion, placing it underneath Frozen 2 in terms of the highest grossing animated movie of all time. And the remake of The Lion King is technically in the lead with 1.66. So The Lion King and the Frozen 2 are still ahead of it, but it beat Frozen 1. And that is from oh my gosh, now I'm having a brain fart, I can't remember. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's from what animation studio? Universal Pictures and
Don't have it.
oh my gosh, what am I? I know I should know this because I did the review and everything. Production company.
There wasn't any. Was there a political kind of agenda with that movie? I don't think so. I think it was just
Illumination.
Entertainment.
Illumination, by the way.
Oh, Illumination.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who did the The little yellow guys.
Minions.
The Minions.
Minions,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
That movie, but this movie got a less than 60% from critics. And that's a big deal. Like that basically means critics said that this movie sucked.
They're not
Critics-
plugged in. They didn't get this at all.
They're working
And exactly like you said, in my review at the end, in my review at the
This
end,
movie-
I said in my review at the end, great. Promanthenos says Illumination. Yep, that's right. Promanthenos said Illumination. But this movie, at the end of my review, I even said, "Hey, look, guys, this was the people that made this movie." Were producers and animators. They were not, like, the director had never directed anything before. The writer had never written anything before, big budget movies or anything. All of this was from a brand new team of people. They came in and they made something, and they didn't put any politics into it. They didn't put anything cultural. This was pure fun. And do you know why critics panned it? They said, where was the message? That's what they actually said. If you look at the critics, they'd say, "Oh, it's this roller coaster ride, and it doesn't really have any deep message." And I'm like, that's exactly.
It had a very
Entertaining.
It had a very clear plot.
Yeah.
Like, you understood what the characters were supposed to do, what journey they're supposed to go on, and then it spoke to every single kid who had a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo. There were so many little Easter eggs in there, and just so many pieces that you saw the entire Nintendo universe in that entire movie. And that was the Super Mario Brothers movie that should have come out, like, not that one back in the 90s with John Leguizamo and all.
Yeah, and Bob Hoskins.
Yeah. They hit the nail on the head with this one.
I think
Even Jack Black's song in there, like, it really, it didn't have a place, but it was silly and it was funny. It was just like, okay.
Yeah.
now I really want to see this movie. I've only seen comparing this. I look back on some trailers and such for the movies, and I'm saying I look at the lights going by and the characters and such, because again, thanking God, my daughter is being able to have the biggest excuse for hours to sit there and do Super Mario Brothers, and they always leave it that beside the point. And just being able, and I'm seeing the trailers, and I'm getting dazzled by the lights, and I said, I'm feeling like I'm doing the video game again. And they already had monies for this.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had the good idea to put together this particular movie I'm taking for them. And it's working. I hope the people at Disney are looking at this.
Yeah.
And see, I thought I would have disliked the fact that Super Mario or Mario and Luigi didn't have the Italian accents, didn't have the classic deal. But the story and just the character development was so good that I didn't even care. It's just like, this is a great ride. I'm on it.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even really want to watch it when my son told me that Chris Pratt was doing the voice for Mario. I was like, wow, that's kind of, just overplaying Chris Pratt's roles in movies. But then I watched it anyway, and it was amazing, and now we've watched it at least maybe 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Look, I never read the books of so this kind of talking about the Chris Pratt thing, because that was kind of a controversy that they talked about how, Chris Pratt doesn't have the voice. Let me tell you something. I didn't read the Game of Thrones books, and I didn't read the Dance of Dragons book, okay? But I do know that all of the Valerians, for anybody who's read those books, Game of Thrones, or seen the show, all of the Valerians are white. It specifically says they're white. There's a specific reason they talk about them all being white. Then they cast that black guy, and the people said, man, and this is the problem, is that when you have somebody come out and say, I'm going to make a political statement here, I'm going to have representation, usually what that means is, translate that to, I'm going to write this really poorly as long as I can put my ideology into it. Okay, but then something amazing happened, and this is the important thing, ladies and gentlemen. It came out, and it was good. And so everybody saw this black guy playing a character who was white in the book, and nobody cared. Nobody cared. That was a while ago. That wasn't this year. That was 20. Yeah, that was a while ago. Okay. But the thing is that nobody cared because what's that?
That's called good writing. It's called a foundation. Even though it's all fantasy, it's still believable fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? Even in contrast to what was in the original book, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So when the Super Mario Bros, the people that I typically hear, I try to get both sides of the aisle on this. Both sides of the aisle said the same thing about this movie, Super Mario Bros. They said Chris Pratt doesn't have the voice. Okay, and then when the movie came out, the people on one side of, and when I say the aisle, I'm not talking politically, I'm talking kind of culturally. Okay. You can have things usually polarize. I'm just saying there were certain people who said he doesn't have the voice. Then the other, and both sides said that. Then when the movie came out, it was good, and so everybody was like, "Oh well, who cares about the voice thing?" Then you kind of take that and you juxtapose it next to what happened with the House of Dragons, and you look at it, and there was a group of people who were like, "If you don't like this character because he's black, then you're a racist." And then the other people were like, he wasn't black in the book, so are they going to do poor writing here? And then when it came out, everybody loved it. Even the people, who criticized in the beginning, they said, but they did it good, And I appreciate people who say, hey, this is a red flag, but if they do it, they can do it. But I just think that this is a red flag for them to not do it good. I appreciate that. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully the audience will have some sort of imagination. I mean, all of those people, like Lord knows, like with Ender's Game. I mean, I was living and breathing that book, and then when the movie came out, the only disappointment I had with the movie was that they didn't have the book, and then they didn't make the sequel that go along with it. But regardless of that, I knew that there's certain things they made in the book, but they tried their best to stick to certain things, and I like reading the books and then see when you put those characters up there, you can identify these are the characters. This is the way I imagined it in the book, and that's all well and good. But if someone wants to take a writer, whoever wants to take a left turn and take a chance, they damn well better write it a certain way that people will understand why there's a left turn, and or the character is strong enough that they can stand on their own, and you say, "Whoa, I wish this was the way it was," or something like that. It shouldn't just be, okay, we'll make them black. I mean, if you want to talk about that, we'll talk about Cleopatra.
So that was just so you guys know, on my notes, all of these were just I watched the news, okay, and every controversy that came up, I put a bullet point, and then later I filled in the bullet points. That's why Cleopatra and all of those were in my notes, okay. I'm not necessarily aiming. This is just, like I said, this was kind of a year of reckoning.
I think it's fascinating. Because I don't know if anyone noticed her black. When I was I talked to Chris, George Reeves in black and white, the TV and all of that. Yeah. And I'm like, my mother's watching me with my tablecloth on, and I'm jumping around, and I understand later on, a decade or two later, okay, well, that's a white guy. They're perfect. They don't have black guys in the show and blah, blah. And I understand all that political stuff. I also understand all the pleasant memories, being a child, having this fixation with Superman and powers and blah, blah, blah. And my imagination running from there. And it's always going to be a combination. There's going to be no such thing as everything, the words of Martin Luther King, when we're all there together and we're all even. That ain't happening. It ain't ever going to be that we're all even and we're all together. It will be that you have the opportunity to be the best that you can, and hopefully there's not too many knuckleheads that try to stop you just because. So, but my thing is, I like characters that I love looking at. Okay, I looked in the comic books, and this is the way they did the X-Men. This is the way they did everything. Oh, they got the same costumes. Oh, they got the same characters. And I like seeing that, but I like imagination. But if you have that, then use a foundation. Use some strength of the character or whatever. It makes me crazy because there's no way to get away from this political stuff that's going on right now with the movie. And
I mean, you look at like, you know, the late 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s, when, you know, it had to all be based on a specific Hollywood actor. You know, you had to have a blockbuster actor, and you end up, you know, with like Highlander and Sean Connery's playing a Spaniard. You know, and it's not about.
One second, I'm going to interrupt you here to say this. Tell me about this haggis. Being that I am from Spain and have never had it before. Like, my God, that guy. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I'm pretty sure that guy's from Scotland. Like, anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Hollywood didn't learn the lesson. It wasn't about like, okay, you know, I care so much about having an actual Spanish person play, you know, Sean Connery's character. It's just that he's who he is because he was a blockbuster actor and he can't play any other different type of character. And you're like, so he's not making his story real for me, right? And, you know, you had it with all these other blockbuster actors and actresses that had to play these roles so that you could get seats, you know, butts and seats and all this other kind of stuff. And now, instead of them learning the lesson and say, let's write good stories with great characters, and if these actors and actresses are good enough, they'll make this believable. And they're like, no, we need to, you know, try to like figure out some sort of algorithm that is going to make people want to go see a movie.
Yeah.
You know what's the most entertaining to me in that when people think they got it, they got the formula, and they know what the audience needs and wants. In that, like back in the 50s, 60s, whatever, when you have the tall, handsome, white, strong guy, leading man, blah, blah, blah. But then decades later, when you find out about Rock Hudson and you see, oh, I fooled you. And then as of last night, which blew my mind, I'm listening to YouTube and I hear about Raymond Burr. And it's like for 27, 29 years, he had a male partner that he lived with, but he always kept it under. I remember Perry Mason, TV show. I remember Ironside. I remember, and I never heard anything about that. And I just remember he was just a strong character on the TV show. And people have these delusions that what they see in front of them. I mean, this is fantasy. This is called acting. You know, people have lives. And it's like, I was like, well, I'm a conservative. And this means that I pick this particular way. And this, because it's only black and white. It's just this way. And people are deluded with these thoughts that there's no individuality. There's no my camp. There's only my camp or your camp. And when they're looking at a rock and they say, well, I understand. That's what I want to be. You know, and people don't realize that they're gay, and that might not be exactly what they want. But at the same time, it's just entertaining to me to watch life evolve around itself and people.
Yeah. Hey, let me just ask Tommy Boy. Give us a comment. You haven't been speaking much. You gotta talk to us. What are your thoughts?
Like this whole topic, just there's no privacy with life anymore. You can't have any privacy. Like everybody's got to put in their 2 cents on what their politics are, what their standings are, and everything, because everybody's got to know everything about everybody, and it just takes away, I think, from the industry. Like, we don't need to know this about you. We just want you to be a dang good character in this awesome movie. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point, because that's so, and it's been happening for a few years now. Like the time of the Hollywood celebrity has kind of come and gone at this point now, where it's like Hollywood celebrities are not cool anymore. Ever since the internet and they've been able to show us who they really are, you know. Like, you look at the best actors, you never see Morgan Freeman going on Facebook and commenting on things and then there's a big controversy about it, because he's kind of mysterious. You know, you don't. What you see on, like, what you guys see of me on YouTube, I don't do stuff on YouTube about my life because you don't need to know about my life. What I'm here to do is present a product to you, and that is like reviews, news, movie reviews, video game reviews, gameplay. You know, you don't need to know whether I'm a conservative, whether I'm a liberal, whether I'm a Christian. I talk about being a Christian because I do realize, you know, I let people know that I'm a Christian, but I don't ever talk about my particular Christian beliefs. I don't ever talk about if you never saw my wife come on stream and say hello to people, you would never know whether I was gay or straight because I would never talk about it. Like it's not important to who I am. Well, when Viggo Mortensen, that's the first actor I thought of. When Viggo Mortensen plays Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, we don't need to know whether Aragorn, the actor who plays Aragorn, is gay or straight, or is he Christian, or is he... We don't need to know. What we need to see is Aragorn being Aragorn from the books, translated to a movie. So I agree with that. And it's been destroyed because of social media and privacy, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, and God forbid something did come out about your personal life, the media just blows it way out of proportion and just try to ruin his career. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and then also my thing is like, have you ever heard the idea of like if you went to a restaurant and you ate a food and it was really good, and then later you found out that what you ate wasn't what you thought? Usually the thing is like it's made of, they made that out of rats or something, something bad like that, whatever. If I went to a restaurant, or something like that. If I went to a restaurant and I ordered the chicken, and then a week later I found out that the chicken was actually, some cheaper meat or something, I would go to the restaurant the next week, and that's my favorite dish. I'd go there and I'd order it again because you know why? It tastes good. I mean, it's not, it's like they cooked it, right? It's clean. My point is that if I found out that Morgan Freeman playing a role in a movie, and then I found out that he was part of some political group I disagreed with or religion that I disagreed with, I don't now hate his acting. So what are even these... Yeah, right. Like, I don't hate that movie now because he's in it. It's like, what? I don't even care. You see what I'm saying? Like, why does you believing a thing that's different than what I believe equal you? I can no longer like you as an actor.
Yeah. It should not be correlated at all. But no.
In this class, I mean, what we need to do is we all need to take this computer in front of us and smash it and throw it away. This fast-paced society, Lord even knows where this is all going in terms of people thinking, they have access to all of this information, so they feel they know. I mean, there are people who swear they know Taylor Swift, they know her relationship. I mean, she could be seeing that other guy she's with, could be putting on the biggest act and just pulling publicity and running commercials and advertising and selling product. And then a year from now, we're breaking up. And they just, people, it just drives me crazy how people think that this connection and this thing, and they'll look on this site and, I mean, we all get emails every day that people are trying to scam us and such. And some people will look at this stuff and say, they'll look at a news thing. Oh my God, he really did that? And they will believe this stuff. And this is dangerous. Let's all just agree to get rid of our computers. Except for
everything on the internet is true.
Everything on the internet is true.
Yeah, anything like anything you have is a tool. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Your computer's a tool, and you got to realize that it doesn't have its own identity or any kind of being to it. It's not real. It's just a tool. It's like your car. It's like anything you use. You got to realize that. And some people are going to take advantage of that and just screw with it.
Yeah.
Like you said, they'll set these fantasies like they know President Biden or something, or Donald Trump, and they really don't know. They'll lie and stuff like that. I mean, you just got to be realistic.
It's human nature, like when I was in Iraq, and we basically had everything taken away from us. You know, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have running water, we didn't have, you know, plumbing and things like that, and we lived out in the city in Iraq amongst the people. You know, you realize like what you gain in society, and not having those things was almost like so freeing, because you just lived in the moment and you just existed, right? But as you would slowly start to get some of that stuff back, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't live without this. I have to have this now. And it's a very weird, like, you know, psychological behavior that goes on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shower.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys.
Yeah.
All right, hey, listen up. So we've got 40 seconds before the ad break. So I think we're at a good like stopping point for right here. When we come back, I want to try to. We've been talking about this for a while, and I really appreciate this conversation. But I think that I would like to talk to you guys about when we come back. We'll talk about the writer's strike and some other things going on with that. Not trying to get away a little bit from the political topics. I didn't do that on purpose. All right. So we'll go to break here, guys. For the audience here, we'll go to break, and we'll see you guys after these short messages.
Hi, it's Travis with Oscar Mike Radio. Oscar Mike Radio is a military and veterans podcast and show about those who serve our country and those who have served and are doing amazing things.
You know what? Let's take more. And then they had that fantastic
managing those logistics and getting things where they need to be on time.
I mean, come on.
Want to learn more? Want to follow the show? Go to OscarMikeRadio.com or the link below. We're Oscar Mike, and we're mission in flight. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're back. Amber had to go check on something with her cat, so she'll probably be coming back, or maybe not. I don't know what's going on. But let's switch over a little bit onto, like I said, I'm sorry, I just looked at the chat. Don't look at the chat right now, guys. So let's look a little bit. All right, let's look at the business side of things here. So looking at the MCU, okay, so we've already talked about Marvel and Disney and Star Wars have all gone this political route. We already know it. That's fine. Okay, we get it. Oh, that's probably Amber coming back. All right, hello, Amber. We're talking about the MCU now. So I'd like to talk to you guys. What do you guys think about this? So we've had these problems with the industry and by the way, if you hear that, that's my son. He likes the movie he's watching, so he's yelling. So we've had this thing now with the MCU. We've even had the Flash movie where they're having just absolutely terrible CGI. Okay, you guys noticed in the Flash movie the scene with the babies and all that? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from Victoria Alonso, second in command in the MCU. She was fired. She was very focused on inserting some of her political ideology in the MCU. We don't have to talk about that anymore. We've talked about it quite a bit. I mean, we can, but if you really got something to say, but we get that, okay? But she also was very bad to the CGI artists, okay? And now she sued Disney, okay? And so this is from the Hollywood Reporter. We're going to talk about that. You guys can see that, right? Okay, so right here. So inside the firing of Victoria Alonso, so basically, she went to make a movie called Argentina in 1985. It was in her contract that she couldn't promote the movie, and then Disney apparently told her that she could. Let me just see right here, because according to the Insider, So she was told right here, according to Insiders, Alonso breached a 2018 agreement that included the company's standards of business conduct, which states the employee cannot work for competing studios. And then she also says that, let me see, I put the first line so I could find. Throughout last year or so, Marvel As Marvel pumped out an unprecedented number of series and movies, a general impression emerged that VFX artists were not being well treated by Marvel, attributed to factors including long hours, drum-tight deadlines, and a lack of singular vision. Releases including February film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania were catching flack for subpar visual effects visual effects work, while Alonso herself became more and more polarizing. So she was in charge of visual effects at Disney, and she's fired now. And she sued, and they came to some kind of settlement. So she got like a golden parachute or whatever you want to say. But so what were you gonna say?
No, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. She got so. But basically, like this. So there's that. Okay. We have Jonathan Majors' arrest. So there was a domestic dispute with his girlfriend. Basically from NBC. I'll put it up here for the viewers. So this is from kind of a breakdown of the timeline here. But basically, he was arrested, okay, and then actually the problem with it is that he was arrested, but he was the one that actually called the police. Okay. Oops. Yeah, so he called the police because he was in a domestic dispute. I know that they're like, according to the court documents and everything, basically a bunch of different stuff happened, but on December 18th, they reached a verdict and went to jury trial. A jury found Jonathan Majors guilty of 2 counts, assault in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. My understanding of that is that the assault in the 3rd degree and then the harassment in the 2nd degree basically amounts to that he was involved in a dispute with her, and so he got convicted. It wasn't like he beat her up. There wasn't any physical, actual, like him actually, like, when you think of assault, you think like he punched her in the face. That's not what happened. And then harassment was basically the fight that they had over text messages and stuff. And so now a bunch of other people have come out and said a bunch of stuff. So that's happening. Okay. I had one more thing. Let me just see real quick. I got to go through this. We had one more thing. They had a bunch of delays. So Echo was delayed. It just recently came out. Agatha Harkness is delayed. Daredevil's delayed. The Blade movie. I'm not even gonna pull this up. I'm just gonna give you guys a real quick synopsis here of what happened. Basically, the Blade movie had really poor writing, and they tried to do this thing where they were going to replace Blade, who was going to be played by Oscar-winning actor Mahershala Ali. They replace him with his daughter in the movie, and he said, "I'm not playing in a movie where you're going to replace me with my daughter." Yeah. So they brought in another writer, and they said, "Rewrite this," and basically they're rewriting it. So that got delayed. So Variety reports that scripts issues for Blade had recently gotten so turbulent that the film's highly anticipated lead, Mahershala Ali, was even considering leaving the project. As a result, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige hired Logan writer Michael Green to rebuild the whole story from the ground up. The hope is that the Oscar-nominated writer will not only reinvigorate the project, but convince the Oscar-winning Ali to remain. So, by the way, they have not, like, he's staying as of right now, but, like, they're trying to make it work. He might still leave. I don't think he will, but he might still leave. So we're having a lot, when we talk about turmoil, we're not just talking about people having a clashing of how they want the company to run, but we're even having issues where just the quality, that's why I said this is kind of the year of reckoning, where even the quality is even driving off the CGI people, it's driving off the actors and the audiences, and we're seeing it in the box office. So what are your guys' thoughts? Actually, before anybody talks, can I start with Tommy Boy? Tommy Boy, you haven't been talking much. I'm putting you on the spot. What do you think? And then I want to hear from Amber.
Yeah, okay. I have no stake in this topic, actually.
Yeah.
Did you like the original Blade movies? There were 3.
I love the original Blade movies. I actually didn't know they were making another one or a remake of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, a soft reboot. He's going to be joining the MCU. How would you like to see, instead of seeing Blade, how would you like to see Blade replaced by another character?
But
that depends. Like, if they're remaking it, like we've been talking this whole time, like, if they have good writing with it and a strong character and they do a good job with it, it might be a good movie. It might be good.
Yeah. Well,
I don't care.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, kind of switching, because I get it. Okay, so and we can kind of circle back, but I also just want to ask, what is going to happen to the MCU with Jonathan Majors being
that's huge.
being arrested? What do you think?
You know something? I am so disappointed in John. Because when you have found yourself in the position of grabbing hold of the golden goose, okay? And I mean, things have changed somewhat in Marvel, but just being connected in with Marvel and having yourself placed in a major role there, a reoccurring role, and just having that opportunity, because my daughter's in it, and just having that opportunity. And then your social life will always be your social life. But if you have a certain amount of sense, you say, well, maybe I should be careful doing this or that. And my judgment, I'll try to use a little better judgment. But get involved the way he did, it was all messed up. And it's like, we are all going to have social lives. But it's like, you gotta have some priority in terms of the millions and everything he could have been making off of this, and now he has been fired. He's gone, and I think it's sad. I just think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask you this? Go on.
The contract that he had also was like a golden goose of contracts. Like, he had it in there that he would be the only person that could represent Kang. So they couldn't pull in and pull the whole multiverse switcheroo and say this other person is now Kang, or, we're going to take a CGI and kind of mess it up and do like this and make someone else, He had that whole intellectual property on that character locked down with Marvel Studios. And I understand, I just looked it up. The whole assault in the third degree is the lowest level of assault. And it's basically like you injure someone through proxy. So like if I got mad at someone and I threw a rock at a tree and the limb fell and hit them, that's assault in the third degree. It's not like, punching someone in the face like Mike said. But as to what you were saying, it's like you had such a good contract. You should have been doing anything to protect that. And now the entire MCU has to be completely reconfigured. They're talking about making Doctor Doom the main bad guy, for the upcoming stuff, completely reorganizing and reshuffling things, which means they have their whole writer teams. People are getting fired. People are getting replaced. And they're coming up with all this crap on the fly. So we're even going to see even more discombobulation, unorganization, and poor planning over the next year with Marvel.
Yeah.
And I just want to say real quick, it reminds me of, even though he's Jonathan's on the lower tier of all of this, when you are a sports figure and God has given you the ability, the swiftness, the strength, and all of that, and suddenly it's in the newspaper that you made the decision, it's important that you are putting your hands on your wife and hitting her and beating her up, and you're looking forward in your career, there's millions, there's so much security. But this lack of control has now, it's gone. It's just gone. And it's just, it blows my mind when that kind of opportunity comes by and people think, well, this is more important right now, or I'm like God. It doesn't matter. I can control this and keep everything. No, you can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't just hurt it's not just the money, it hurts other people, and they suffer because of it. The people who are involved in it, the people in production, the people in writing, like has been said, but also the people who look forward to watching it. I mean, I was looking forward to watching it, but I just found out the guy got fired, and I am just really disappointed right now that they're gonna have to redo it. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, and straight out the gate, they already fired like 2 directors on future movies that they were going to do, all based on this Kang multiverse saga.
Well, can I ask you this then? This is more of a legal issue, so we don't have to really get it deep into this, but I do want to ask. So, a couple of questions. First of all, how do I say this? I hope take this with a grain of salt as far as the way that I put this, so that you guys understand. I'm not trying to be. This is devil's advocate. Going to challenge here for conversation here. Should he, if what he did wasn't so bad, and he was the one that called the police, should he not have called the police? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it would have just been a domestic dispute and she leaves and doesn't call the, okay. And then also, should they have fired him? Like I get into a domestic dispute. I don't beat my wife. We yell at each other. She leaves. I leave. Does my employer need to fire me? That's the question that I'm asking.
It has to do with what rules are set up in the studio with, just like in sports, with zero tolerance, or whether they think it reflects bad. And in terms of whether or not they should or shouldn't, I mean, there used to be a day, I'm still hearing this stuff about JFK and all the girlfriends he had, but he was the president of the United States, so, it's the only thing that matters. That one thing is separated from the rest of it, which is family life. And we just don't live in that era. When you take a chance on doing this stuff, unfortunately, there's other things that are connected, and other associations and people that have built their careers on saying, we're going to look out for the rights of women, we're going to look out for the rights of Black people, we're going to be looking out for the rights of this. And it's not as simple as it used to be. So it's like you take the chance, and whether or not they should, I think, unfortunately, it can't just be passed by. Unfortunately.
Right.
Everybody's under a microscope, is what you're saying.
Well, okay.
That's why I don't see how people can make movies these days.
Yeah.
Well, let's ask about this.
It goes to the content with Disney. It's not like, okay, I'm going to make a Terminator or a RoboCop movie. These are actors and people who are displaying, these characters that children look up to, and there's like this onus that these people have to live up to some sort of perceived, ideals, and having anything attached to that character, and you get into it with kids, that just destroys the entire thing,
Right.
I do think it's more about who's lining their pocket.
Well, let me ask you this. Amber Heard.
Oh.
Amber Heard beat her husband badly, cut the tip of his finger off. They fired him, and they didn't fire her, and then their movie failed.
And that's precisely why. That's precisely why Disney waited for this. DC did the whole jump on the bandwagon, and we're going to, destroy Johnny Depp's career and all this other stuff. And then they looked like a fool when the actual, legal proceedings came out. Here, Marvel and then we're like, we're going to wait. We're going to see what the actual thing is. And yes, if he's convicted and that violates, the clause in their contract that, for that type of behavior, then we're going to let him go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, okay. So you're saying it's a little bit of a different situation. Okay.
Marvel was smarter about it, but the problem was Jonathan Majors was such an important character for the entire next, 2 phases of Marvel, and you just destroyed like the next 5-6 years of movies that they had planned and shows and everything.
So I'll say, like my kind of final thoughts on this, and we can still talk about it if you guys have more to say. But I'm just saying my kind of final thoughts on this is I'm with Lloyd. I'm disappointed how it happened, whether it had to happen or not, whether it was right or not. I'm disappointed. It does suck. I am happy about the Victoria Alonso lady because she was really doing some bad things at Marvel as far as the way she treated people in the CGI. Hopefully now the CGI department improves. Hopefully some of this political stuff the way that she's had influence on that. Hopefully that's a little bit better because she was one of the people that was pushing for that. But I definitely agree that we are now going to be a little bit in shambles as far as the MCU moving forward. I mean, we were anyway. So now this is just another thing to add to the stack. Yeah. So any other thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's. Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's sort of a side topic in that being a trekker for such a long time, and then when they did the split-off series, the split Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and all those, and every time they did it, they were lined up chronologically with each other. Even Voyager going out to left field and then coming back, everything was lined up, and I could turn on. I mean, as long as I wound up having to look at 3 different shows to keep up with all the information. And that's sort of what they were doing with Marvel at the time, in that the timing was that if you saw the Iron Man and then you saw what the Avengers movies and all these things, and everything was working concurrently. They were just together. This whole thing that's going on now with, they talk about movies coming out in 2025 that should have come out last year and such. It throws everything off, and it's like the whole thing. I look forward to the next rung in the ladder and the side rungs will build up on everything. Yeah. You got nothing to grab onto. It's just we'll throw it out here. A year later, we'll throw it out.
Yeah,
just like Mike was talking about with the Blade movie, Blade was already teased in the Eternals in the after credits scene, and Marvel is so bad at planning now that they didn't even have a Blade movie, this thing ready to go right after that, and then you have all the other movies coming up, and nobody's acknowledging the giant hand that's coming out of the ocean, the celestial that almost cracked Earth in two.
Yeah. Well, and actually it brings. Other Mike, you had something you were going to say. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm kind of getting off with the stream of thought here, but it just seems like in Hollywood, it's hard to find anybody with some virtue. There are people like that, but there's not a lot. And sometimes when things happen, maybe keep your mouth shut, and maybe if you feel like you got to say something or do something to someone, walk away. I mean, it's sometimes you think they I was a chaplain in the Army for all these years. Maybe they need a chaplain in Hollywood that people are going to go to and tell them all they're mad at their
that chaplain's going to have a drinking problem.
Believe me, I've had some people in my office who wanted to kill somebody. They wanted to kill somebody, and I probably talked them down from doing it. So, I mean, it's just Hollywood is just unrestrained, and there's few people who are virtuous, and have a whole lot of common sense and do that. And I think that's what Lloyd was saying earlier.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, so we kind of got into the. I agree with you. I don't want to get necessarily just right off of that topic, but because it was mentioned, it's something I don't want to forget. The shows and the continuity of the shows is ruining things too, because now if you want to see the new Doctor Strange movie, if you want to see Doctor Strange 2, forget about seeing Doctor Strange 1. You got to see Doctor Strange 1. You got to see Hawkeye. You got to see this show, that show, the other show, and all of those shows, by the way, are not very good. Even if they were okay, they're not really good, and that sucks. The way that they're twisting everything around these different timelines, and I don't know if you guys saw Echo. Echo just came out. It is critically panned. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But Echo came out, and Echo was the girl. Did you guys see Hawkeye? Right?
Oh, please don't remind.
Okay, so Hawkeye, the girl, the deaf girl from Echo, she got her own show, and what irritated a lot of people is that she got her own show before Doctor Doom, before a lot of these other guys. But let's just look at right here. So this is Echo. So if you look at the audience, the critic score, all critics 74, top critics 67. The audience score is at 63, but it's strange because you can't click all and verified. but it is high. But I will tell you. Okay, so then that's Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see if I can go over here because actually I saw it before and it was not very good. Let's go Metacritic. Metacritic. So here's Metacritic. Where's Metacritic? Come on. Let me see. No, wait, that's the wrong thing. I'll find it as we go. But the show is not. I can't. It doesn't even have. Maybe it doesn't even have a critic score. Okay, I guess it might not have a critic score.
I'm surprised they got that high.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
surprised
the thing.
they got that high.
Right. Well, the thing is that I mean, it hits the right. It checks the right boxes and everything. But at the same time, like that show was, I didn't watch it. You could see it a mile away.
I've never had so much silence in one movie
Oh,
or one
yeah.
show, and now you have to go through 8 episodes where there is nothing being said, and like. I understand you have the deaf actress and, she's Echo and all of that, but none of the other actors, they're all signing back to her and they're not communicating. They're not talking. So this is all being read on the freaking subtitles, and you'll just have 10, 15 minutes of dead air. And if you're not, sitting there reading the TV, if I go in to go make some popcorn for the show, I don't hear what's going on, and I come back out and I've missed what's, I'm like, Jesus Christ,
Right. Yeah. I watched reviews of it on YouTube, and I was like, I don't even want to get into this because this just forget it.
It starts off the first thing. The whole premise is, you have the Native Americans. They're supposed to be in a cave, and they're supposed to be saved by some sort of magical thing. And they're underground, way underground. And there's this woodpecker that comes up and starts singing to them. And I'm like, what is going on? None of this makes sense. And you're not even taking a real Native American story. You're not, using real Native American culture and all these things to enrich this thing. You're just coming up with bullshit and then, hey, here, we're going to give you a show where no one talks for, 30 minutes and make up, crap.
All right.
Was his name Woody the Woodpecker?
Woody the Woodpecker. Hey, so listen, we've got about a minute.
The cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. We've got about a minute and 10 seconds now. When we come back, I would like to finish off. I only have a few things about video games because video games have been kind of bland this year as far as the news for video games. There's a couple of things, but I want to talk about the Barbie movie. Has everybody seen the Barbie movie?
Of course.
Okay, so we'll talk about the Barbie movie, and then we'll kind of finish. I'm trying to wrap it up. I know that there's a lot of us talking. So Barbie movie, and then we'll talk about the writer's strike, and then kind of get into a few things about video games, and we'll be able to close everything off if everybody's good with that. So, but otherwise, guys, we got about 30 seconds, but I'm going to start the ad now, so that way we can come back and finish this thing off. So we will see you guys after these short messages.
My name is Stephen Russell. My co-writer, Joseph Miles Pittman, and I would like you to imagine a graphic narrative that disrupts the superhero genre's conventional boundaries. Tales of Nihilism unfolds a thought-provoking anthology with diverse story formats from succinct comic strips to multi-saga issues. But at its core, the Ballad of Philip Kirshner explores existential challenges of an ordinary man in a world inundated with superheroes. The anthology challenges prevailing hero worship narratives, diving deep into societal introspection. We invite readers to confront uncomfortable truths about our culture's obsession with saviors and question the prevailing societal structures. The series is not just a comic, but an invitation to contemplate, challenging readers to reassess their perspectives on heroism and societal norms. It's an opportunity to offer audiences a fresh, introspective take on the superhero universe, sparking conversations, reflections on the human condition. You can find the series digitally on Global Comics, or follow the links below to get your own physical issue.
All right, everybody, we're back. Okay, so we've been going along here, so I think we're going to try to wrap some things up with movies. We've basically just been talking about movies. I want to talk about probably going to be a little bit of a controversial topic. I talked with Salty Skipper here earlier today about this, but I want to talk about the Barbie movie, and then we'll get into the writer's strike. Okay, so Barbie movie. Who has seen it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I watched it today. And I got to tell you respectfully, Salty Skipper, I'm going to tell you, you definitely see that there's a political side to this movie. Greta Gerwig, and this goes to the sentiment thing that I was talking about. And no matter what you think of the movie, whether it was good or bad, before the movie came out, already we had people coming out and saying, "Oh, it's got all these political messages." And hey, Amber's back. Hey, Amber, we're talking about the Barbie movie. Did you see the Barbie movie?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been listening to you guys, so I had to get back to this topic at least.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Okay, so listen, I disagree. I kind of disagree with Salty Skipper. Not in a disrespectful way. I'm not upset. What you said about it isn't so egregious. But I mean, they have characters in there talking about, like, they have a teenage character talking about capitalism and fascism, and you're a fascist because of this. And then the marketing for the movie said that it was based, like, part of the marketing for the movie said, "Oh, it's going to be this family-friendly, fun film." I think that was a lie. I think it's for adults. Even if you like the movie, I definitely think it's for adults. So I think a lot of people went and saw it maybe thinking that it was going to be for kids because it's a Barbie movie. And then it ended up being that they tell kind of jokes that are innuendo and some sexually themed stuff. And you kind of go, that's not really for my kids. And yeah, it just goes, okay, so I think that the big problem that you have is you have this movie. And this is where I kind of agree with you, Salty Skipper, of what we talked about. And then I'm going to let everybody speak. I'm just going to give my monologue here real quick. Some people have said that the movie is really like this, this, when we say woke era, it's very politically charged in one direction. And then you have other people who actually say that it's almost like an anti-woke movie because of certain things. And here's my take on it. I think that this movie, like I said, made itself out to be like a kid's movie, and it wasn't. I didn't think it was even so funny. I thought it was like cute. There were little parts that were like, oh, it's kind of cute. Like Barbie, when she wakes up in the morning, you see her walk and her feet stay in high heels, the high heel position as she walks out. I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Not really like funny. There wasn't like a real joke there, but it was a little funny. But I think that the reason why we have this weird situation with the Barbie movie, with the way that what people's messaging is I think that it's very clear. Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie came out and they said, this is a feminist movie. It's not only a feminist movie, it's beyond feminism. We are anti-misogynist is what they said. And a lot of people immediately heard we're anti-men. I don't think that it's super egregiously anti-men, but because of this, and this is the point that I really want to make here, is this movie goes so far, so ridiculous with some of this feminism stuff that it's almost to the point of satire, okay? But I also think that it's honestly feminist to the point where the problems with some modern, and I'm not giving my opinion on feminism necessarily, but I do just want to say it's very clear in this movie that there are some issues with feminist ideology of today, okay? Not 20 years ago, of today, where some of these ideas are folding in on themselves and creating a situation where I'm a feminist who believes this, but it contradicts this other feminist belief, such as women having power in their sexuality, okay? And then the other side of feminism says that we can't sexualize women. So those are things that kind of contradict each other, and they're both represented in this movie, and then you're like, wait a minute. Am I a bad person because I believe in sexual power for women, or am I a bad person because I believe that we shouldn't sexualize? You see what I'm saying? That's just an example. So that's where I say where it's like so ridiculous that people who are against feminism will say, this is so ridiculous, it's anti-feminist. But then also it's so representative of feminism that people will say, no, this is totally a feminist movie. I know I just said a lot of stuff. I want to hear what your guys' comments are, but those are basically my thoughts on it. And then I would also, after getting our ideological thoughts, we're going to talk about the box office. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts?
I looked as deep as all of those things were that you said, and I recognize, the satire, innuendos, all of that craziness. Mine was fun sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't take any of it seriously. I understood where they were trying to go with some of the stuff, but it's like, all I can remember, I was going to see Oppenheimer in the theater at the time other people were going to go see Barbie. And all of these grown behind women dressed in pink walking into the theater with their children dressed in pink. Well, their girls are dressed in pink. And it's like, okay, I'm supposed to later on maybe see this movie and take it seriously.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to use a movie as a political tool or to make a statement, fine. I understand. But this is not the movie to do it. It's like a cartoon after a while. That I'm just not going to take it seriously. I liked it okay. It was colorful, but it's not breaking any records in terms of entertainment. I'm sure they made more than enough money.
Yeah. What do you think, Amber?
I'm interested that Margot Robbie said had the message that it was a feminist, message, because that's not actually what I got from it. There were some parts where the mom went on that rant about how women have so many pressures, I guess, in society and expected the roles that they're supposed to be playing. But also, the overall message that I got from it was that, it was more about equality. It's not men, that should be ruling, or, misogynistic type of culture. And women are, I suppose, getting more equality, in the workplace, and I guess just culturally. But I almost took away from the movie that it wasn't one way or the other. I felt like it was kind of about equality more.
So the only... And again, this is I'm playing devil's advocate here because it's a movie. I agree with Lloyd. It is kind of mindless fun in a lot of the parts and stuff. But I will say this: the counter argument that I've seen a lot of other people say about this too is that at the end of the movie they don't have equality. At the end of the movie, the Kens go back to the beach and the women take over again. The Kens are represented as the bad guys in the end, and the solution to this problem is us women need to take over again so it can be a utopia again. I'm again playing devil's advocate.
Barbie's message to Ken was there's so much identity. I feel like we're in a huge identity crisis, which is why there's so many, problems with the political agendas and controversy with the messages in these movies. People take things way too seriously. I don't know. I just felt like people went into it wanting it to be like a feminist movie, and that's why I said I'm kind of surprised that was Margot Robbie's message, having been in the movie, obviously. Yeah, I didn't get that message from it.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a criticism I would say, is that when I talk about subtext, because that's a big thing for me, is subtext. You want to get your point across, you got a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Okay, they went so hard to the point of it being comical. That's the truth for me, is that they went so hard to the point of anybody who comes in here and listens to this message and looks at this political stuff is almost going to laugh, because every man in this movie is a misogynist or an idiot. And every woman in this movie thinks that every man is a misogynist or an idiot. And every man, so it's that is so ridiculous. That's not how the world is, to the point where even if you believe that, you think it's a joke. Even if you lean that way politically, you think it's a joke.
Sure. Yeah, make light of it. That's what I kind of feel like.
Yeah.
One thing I don't think I've heard, tell me if I'm wrong, that there haven't been any demonstrations or people irate because someone misunderstood the theme of the movie.
Right. Yeah, there hasn't been any of that.
So I mean, I understand that they're trying to, the writers, whoever, have a specific aim at the end for the overall theme type of thing of the movie, but it's a big colorful cartoon. That's all it was.
Right.
I'm sorry. And it did.
Yeah.
Who cares? In the long run, they'll make
It's like
money.
It's like I told Mike over the phone. Like, if you're a man and you went into the Barbie movie to like try to solidify or shore up your masculinity, like there's other things going on with you that you need to like figure out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say, I actually think, well, that's my point when I say it's a criticism. And again, this movie really didn't offend me, but I think that the reason it didn't offend me and the reason that it didn't offend a lot of people is because I think that they stated in the way, when they made this movie, they stated, this is what we want it to be. They actually wanted it to be the political thing. But I think that they were actually so ridiculous with it that political argument that they were trying to make was actually ineffective, and that's why people don't take it seriously. But I think
there was a lot of cultural stuff for people who were, in a very niche kind of like generation era on this movie too. If you're in the I would say about 45 to 35 demographic, like they had a lot of stuff in there for you. Like when Ken gets down and he starts playing Matchbox 20 to freaking Barbie on the guitar, like that's a total like grunge era type deal, and they had all these like little Easter eggs in there, and everything was just over the top crazy. The Ken fight, hilarious, And yeah, if you're going to this movie and you're like, oh, I'm going here to solidify my political or moral ideals in feminism or this or that, like, to me, you're going to end up lacking.
Yeah.
Find another movie.
Well, I will tell you this. So looking at the box office, let's just look right here at the box office. So I want to talk about this. So we've talked about the ineffectiveness of these movies that are becoming woke, quote unquote, or just forget about wokeness, just political in general, any kind of political. Like I don't go and watch conservative movies, and I don't go and watch, liberal movies and enjoy them. The quality of both of those tend to be not good. The middle is where it's at, man. Where there's like lack of political stuff is where it's at. But anyway, this movie though, marketed politically, after the movie came out, everyone said that it was like this big advancement for feminism and all this stuff. It still made $1.4 billion. Why? That's my question. That's my question for the panel here.
Story.
Say again?
Story and characters. Like the classic thing. It had a plot. You knew, where this was supposed to go. It kept on those points, stayed on topic, and then each one of these characters was developed very well. You understood who they were, who they're supposed to be. And yeah, there's, the crazy, like John Cena and stuff in the movie and all these little, things popping in and stuff. But it stayed on that. And you could tell whoever wrote this, like they cared about the story and they cared about the characters.
Okay.
Also, I feel like there hasn't been a live action Barbie movie, so people had to go see what it was about.
Yeah.
Branding. Yeah. I will say, branding I think was a big deal. And I think that just the fact that it's a movie, so a movie for women, I mean, they outright stated it's for women, so nobody can argue that. That's what the director said. But then also it's a movie for women that was feminine. Because a lot of these movies, like Captain Marvel, they said Captain Marvel was for women, but Captain Marvel is kind of an action beat-em-up movie. And so Like, is that the thing that is really going to attract women? I mean, I think it did. It attracted some women. 75% of Captain Marvel's audience was men, though. You know, Barbie had a mostly female audience. Like a large majority of their audience was female, and I think that women have kind of been neglected in being able to see like a good feminine movie for women. So I think that's I think the branding and then the feminine movie for women really contributed to the box office.
Well, when's the last time you saw a little girl with a Captain Marvel doll?
Exactly. Yeah. When's the last time you saw anybody with a Captain Marvel doll?
That's the truth.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, I love Alien. I'll always go back to Alien because Alien was a female character, you know, and I have action figures. I have action figures of Ripley. I cycle through what action figures everybody sees, but I have an action figure right over there of her in the power suit taking on the alien queen. I think that this was definitely a character that women wanted to go see. Like I said, for all those reasons, branding being a big one. Yeah.
This wasn't the one that would impress you enough to say, now I have standards of wisdom. You know, this alien is like strength. You know, there's these hidden qualities. You really don't know who's got the strength until, the lead character, white guy, he's dead. Wait a minute. How could you kill him off so early in the movie? He's supposed to. And then all these other people go, and then you see she has the hidden strength enough to be able to survive. And that's remarkable, and that could be respected, and that's a good theme. But with Barbie, all the stuff she went through.
Yeah. Well, let me just, if we can, then I think we're good. If everybody's good, we can move forward. I want to talk about the writer's strike. You guys ready? Writer's strike. Okay, let's talk about this. So the writer's strike. To be very clear for anybody who doesn't know, so just so you guys know, I'm going to cut these up into like YouTube bits. Okay, so this is going to be like it'd probably be its own video on YouTube because some people don't really understand this. Let's talk about what did the writers want. So I have an article from AP News that I'd like to look at. Here we go. So from AP News, these are the things that the writers asked for with the writer's strike. Okay, so the writers went on strike. They wanted certain things. Here we go. This and the actors as well. So they asked for increased pay, which is an obvious one that everybody always asks for. These are the big ones. Better residuals. Then that means that when a movie is distributed overseas, then the writer would get some money from that. If it's reruns of movies and TV shows, they get paid for that. So there's that. Then they wanted staffing requirements. They wanted more writers per project. And then they also wanted shorter exclusivity deals, which basically means like if I sign on as a writer with Disney, I don't want it to be like a 10-year contract where I can't go work with somebody else. And then the biggest one, I think, is actually the assurance on AI, which is basically like a problem with, like we have computers writing movies today. So, and they want to make sure that doesn't happen. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think that they were being unreasonable? Do you think that they were, like, what's up? What do you guys think?
I think they wanted more pencils, too.
Oh. I'll say that, like, look, I appreciate, if you're getting paid unfairly, okay. I think that the exclusivity deals make sense to me. The AI, making sure that AI doesn't take our jobs, that makes sense to me. The biggest thing is asking, how do I explain this? I don't actually care about this. Like, I'm not the guy. I haven't really looked into it over the years about writers, how much they get paid. But man, as bad as the movie industry right now is, do you think that this was the proper time to make this request? Like, hey, boss, I know that we're on a sinking ship, but can you pay me more money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like a canary in the coal mines situation, and
okay.
This is what caused Disney, especially on the Marvel side, to like start restructuring things, and they had so much like content that was ready to get pushed out over, the next like 6 years. And they had all these projects that they just kept switching people out on, giving insane deadlines, and then, changing things up and going, full on nuts where these guys couldn't keep up with it. So you'd have these writers who are putting in full on 40-hour weeks, and longer on these projects. And then, at the last second, Disney just says, nope, we're going to trash that. You don't get paid for it. Have fun. No residuals, no nothing. There you go. And so it's more about like, hey, we need some like consistency in our life. I'm not going to sit here and work a full-time job week after week after week and not get paid for it, and not, have some sort of like assurance that my job is going to be there and, AI is going to take it and all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you, I actually think that unintentionally, this is going to be really good for the industry. And the reason why is because big name writers were not the people who were protesting. It was the people who, I mean, not to seem bad, but if I'm a little flamboyant about this, I'll just say it. It was basically the guys who suck and don't work. And they reached an agreement that is going to increase their pay, and it's going to increase certain things. And what executives have now said is going to happen is basically, okay, well, that means that you're going to write me something good. And if you don't write good, you're out. We're not doing it no more. So I actually think that it's basically going to cause, like, if you were for the writers, I think that it's good because they got some of what they wanted. If you were against the writers, I still think it's good because now you're not going to have to deal with those writers you don't like. I mean, being honest, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that's right or wrong. It sucks for people to lose a job, but I mean, if you work, if minimum wage is $7, and you'll work for $7, you're more likely to get hired than the guy who says I must make $15 an hour, regardless of how good your job, how good you do.
Yeah, that's the thing you always talk about, Mike.
Oh, what's that?
We always talk about how writing is poor, and how something that could be really spectacular just has really bad writers. So now they just kind of. It's like the whole thing with NBA versus WNBA. It's like the WNBA is complaining, well, the women's basketball, we don't get as much as the men do. Well, you know what? People want to watch the NBA and not the WNBA. So that's where the money goes. So this is the same way, is that people want really good writers. So they're probably going to go and see movies that good writers have done their scripts for those. I think it's probably going to sharpen up a lot of the movies that come out. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, basically, I don't, and like I said, I haven't really studied it. If this is on a YouTube video and you want to comment and tell me how I'm wrong or give your input, please do. I just think that honestly, it's going to be better because we're going to start, I mean, if I as a boss am required to pay more money and required to hire more writers and am required to pay out more residuals, then the only people that I'm going to hire are going to be the best that I can get. And if you're a guy who wrote, like one of the ones that they talked about recently was Willow. Willow was a TV show. It did so bad on Disney Plus that Disney Plus took it off of Disney Plus because they didn't want to have to pay residuals to the writers. Yeah. And it's like, look, I'm not going to pay you. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to do everything I can do to find better people and not hire the people that are subpar. So I think that it actually turned out better I think it turned out better for audiences. I think audiences won is what I'm saying. Yeah. Anybody have any other thoughts on that? I figured there'd be a little bit more of a discussion.
The only thing like with AI and insurance that I'm not familiar with the contract, but I do know that in some of my stuff with that I do with YouTube, I'm with this thing called vidIQ, and it's connected up with being able to. At times, it can even produce narratives, produce content, just practically write some things out for you. And I tried doing it once, and I kept having to redo and change and redo and change. And I suppose there are those that just take it as it makes the title, it makes the narrative, it makes the, and there's such danger with that, in that the computer's sitting there writing out content and ideas, and then you put your own name on it, put it out there. And there's got to be some insurances out there to just make certain that there's. I don't even see how people can get away with that totally, though, because I don't know. I just don't know enough about that kind of stuff. It just seems to me that, like, computer writing a thesis and such, and you hand it in.
It's like plagiarism. Yeah, it's like plagiarism.
It is plagiarism, but if you push the button and said, I always write this.
Well, it's cheating of some kind.
Yeah, it's cheating. Like,
it is cheating, as we know it. But is that going to change with this whole AI thing?
I mean, it's not developed enough right now to be able to do what they claim. It's pretty basic text generation and stuff like that. But it's more on the lines of, like, a business, a large corporation like Disney is going to use every piece that they can to save money, in the, like, labor market. If they can get away with not paying people, they will do it. They already employ artists overseas in, Asian countries so that they can pay pennies on the dollar for, the artwork and graphics that they get. And even on, The Skrulls with Samuel Jackson, that should have been a great show. And what is it? All the artwork in that thing is AI generated.
Yeah.
You could have paid an artist to do that, but you're going to skip out just so that you can, cheat. And they came out and said, oh, we did it because we wanted to make it look funky and all that. It's like, no, you didn't do it because of that. Because if you had a concept artist and you had a team, that do a bang up job, this wouldn't have looked like this.
Yeah.
It's just scary to me how a computer, if you say this will replace someone, and if it gets advanced enough that it can, the same way we call it imagination, but it's called pulling all of its information and extrapolating and going in different directions, making it sound like imagination, and then it makes up a story and puts this out, and they say, oh, this sounds good. This is mine. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of me is like, you've got this idea of, like, the Industrial Revolution. John Henry, he beat the picket pounder, but it still won out in the end. And it seems like we're in that same kind of, like, struggle right now.
Yeah, I definitely don't want.
AI is a tool, like anything. And people are going to abuse it or use it for the right reasons. It's great. I've done it, like, just to try to see if I can think of something else that might be on a certain subject, just to look at it. But to use it to write a paper or write a script is probably not the right thing to do. And it's probably be careful with AI, because there's an agenda behind it, and I know that because there's certain things I've looked at, and it's came back with an answer that I didn't expect. That, oh, okay, I see what's going on there. So it's got its filters, it's got its things that have been programmed into it. So, but it's a tool.
Always someone watching how you utilize it.
Well, hey, let's if we can, I would like to kind of transition now. We've been talking about movies for a long time. I would like to. I only have a few things for video games. Well, okay. Last thing I would just want to say. And I'm just going to throw this out there. We don't even really have to discuss it. I just want to... Who's excited for Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
I've always liked Hugh Jackman, but I after you kill the man off, what are you going to do? What do you mean coming back?
Well, I think this is going to be a reboot. They're saying that didn't happen. They're going to say this didn't happen anymore because of time travel or something.
Iron Man. I just saw it coming across Iron Man 4. And I sent it to my daughter, and she sent it to her friend. And then I read the fine print. This is fake. It looked real. it looked like they really went in the grave, got Tony Stark, and brought him back to life, and they utilized this guy. And it's like, why can't you try something different? But I said, but I was excited. Oh, good, Iron Man might be coming back. Like Wolverine, they took the time to make the movie, and they killed him off.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
He did it in order to go ahead and give him more.
All right. Well, listen.
Bring him back.
So I think, yeah. So I think that we can finish off in the next segment here, because I really just have a few points I wanted to ask you guys about video games. I know that some people aren't so much into video games, but I think, are we good? We'll go to break now, and then we'll come back and we'll try to finish up for the night. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put us to intermission for right now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a few things with video games and the Game Awards and wrap it up with our favorites for the Oscars and all that stuff. Kind of just real quick mention those. But otherwise, we're going to see you guys after these short messages. The Action Pack needs you. You can support Mike's After Action Reviews on our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Every quarter, once we've made at least $200, we're going to be giving away 10% of our earnings from Patreon in a giveaway over on our Twitch, so go check that out as well. You can find all of the links for everything in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Do your part. Support the pack. The Action Pack. All right, awesome, guys. We're back. So we're trying to wrap it up in this segment. We got about 30 minutes. I just have a few things that I want to bring up. We'll start with the. I really just have 3 topics. So, did anybody play Spider-Man 2? Marvel Spider-Man 2? No. Okay. You didn't. Nobody played it? Oh man, you guys got to go watch my review then. So Marvel Spider-Man 1 came out on the PS4, so PS4, PS5, it made that console. It came out, basically it came out and it was great. Now the second one came out, it's been kind of bland. I'll just give a monologue real quick and maybe you guys can kind of talk about it with me a little bit here, but just basically they're trying to replace Spider-Man with, like Peter Parker with Miles Morales. They try to do this in the comic books. Narratively, they didn't set it up the best in the comic books or the video game here. So it's kind of been criticized for that. And then, so like maybe the next game, they're talking about, maybe he could be the main Spider-Man. The other thing is that they took away some features. Basically, like they added some features and it's gotten a little bit muddled. So as far as like actual combat feature, like combat mechanics and certain features, so I was disappointed. That kind of sucks. And that's like a tentpole game. Like we talked about Baldur's Gate 3. That came out this year and was Game of the Year. Well, spoilers for what we're about to talk about, but that was Game of the Year. But this game that came out of nowhere. This game came out and it's from like the big tentpole studio, and it was kind of a disappointment. So it's kind of we're kind of seeing some of the same issues that we're seeing in the movie industry coming over to the video game industry now, which sucks. We had here. This one's interesting. So get this. Have you guys heard of The Day Before? Okay, so The Day Before was this big game. Let me see if I can. I'll pull it up over here. The Day Before was supposed to be. Do you remember Cyberpunk? How big Cyberpunk was going to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Day Before was going to be bigger, and it's this right here. 1 second. So The Day Before was going to be this open world game, and it's going to be a zombie game, and you're going to play it, and it's going to be open world. And then it came out on what date? When did it release? Released on December 7th, and I think 2 weeks later it got taken off the store because it was just absolutely terrible. You guys if you guys haven't seen, you guys got to get more into video games so that way these discussions can be a little bit. That's okay. No, that's okay. But basically, it came out and everybody said this is going to be terrible. The gameplay trailers for it were all basically faked, like it was assets from stores. A lot of it was faked, and It was just absolutely terrible. So anybody watching over on YouTube, right here, it got a 1 out of 10. Here's what it says. Check this out. So this was the biggest game. Now Cyberpunk 2077, which was a flop initially, did not get a 1 out of 10. IGN is rating it a 1 out of 10. Easily one of the worst games I've ever played, to the point where I'm afraid to continue running it on my PC. And if you didn't manage to try it, you can count yourself as one of the lucky ones. This was going to be one of the most anticipated games this year. And if you can look at it, like, I'll even keep the volume off and play this video. Like, this is a zombie game. Look at the zombies. They just stand there. Like, it was absolutely just a terrible game. So there you go. We mentioned it the day before, just for everybody. So let me know when you guys see this on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, day before was definitely a big laugh. Okay, here's one that I think everybody can appreciate. Check this out. This is more from a business aspect of things when it comes to this. So Unity Engine is an engine that it's made to make video games. I think Staff Sergeant Matt, you might know a little bit more about this because you're into coding and stuff, right? Unity Engine is used to make video games. There was a controversy. I'm going to read a little bit more into this because we actually do have time. This is like the last thing I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to read into this. This is from Kotaku. Now, they're not always the most reliable news source, as far as, because they kind of have a political leaning. But here's what it says. The controversial changes were revealed in a big blog post on the company's website. So this is the company Unity that makes Unity Engine. Unity, a popular cross-platform game engine that powers titles like Hollow Knight and Pokemon Go, those are big names, announced a new runtime fee that would take effect on January 1st, 2024. The controversial fee, which many indie devs pushed back on, meaning independent developers, small games, is calculated using game installs after a game crosses a certain revenue and installation threshold. At the time, Unity said the runtime fee would be applied retroactively to games that meet the revenue and install thresholds, but those plans have changed. So it was so bad that they have changed, and we'll talk about it. But basically, this is what it means. Think about Netflix, okay? Netflix makes a movie, and let's say that every time, and then let's say that another company came in and said, okay, Netflix, you made the movie, you used our cameras in making your movie. So now, after I want 50 cents every time somebody watches your movie. Do you realize how much money Netflix would lose on small production movies that they didn't make much money on? That was about to hit us this year in the gaming industry. So basically what ended up happening was that it was so bad that now the fee hasn't gone away, but once your game hits a certain point, like it sells so many copies, basically, here's what its quote is saying. For games that are subject to the runtime fee after it hits that many copies, we're giving a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game, meaning downloading it or playing it, each month. Both these numbers are self-reported from data developers already have access to that, and that studios will always be billed for the lesser amount. So basically, they made it a little bit better, but initially, can you imagine what it would be like to make a game? Or think about a YouTube video. Think about this, Lloyd. Lloyd is big on the YouTube. I definitely understand this because I do the YouTube. Imagine if you got charged 5 cents. Or 25 cents every time somebody viewed a video of yours on YouTube, but it wasn't that it wasn't like we're going to give you YouTube ad revenue and then take our money from that. It's like whether you make ad revenue or not, we're going to charge you 25 cents every view. I couldn't afford to be a YouTuber for that.
Look, unfortunately, the same thing. I mean, I get just kind of tired of this whole thing after a while. Because I come from the era. I mean, there's very few of you that are old as I am. In that, I remember free TV, and I remember when cable first came out, and I remember, it's only going to be a certain cost. And I mean, and that went from that point to where it is now with all of these subscription services, and Netflix is losing its flipping mind.
Yeah.
In terms of adding things and it's starting to sound like a cable company. I know everyone's going to be looking for an opportunity to make a buck. One way or another, that's the American way. And then they say the American thing about it is, okay, but you don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can make your own decision. Of course, they sort of took that away with free television. Kids,
right?
You know, that. But it's just another way for someone to try to build on what they think is a good idea to get it back. I mean,
yeah.
No, they're not going to get.
All right. Let's see. Game. I want to talk about this. I wanted to ask you guys. So that was like my whole thing for video games this year. We kind of talked about it in the beginning and then went into movies, but it's kind of with this year. Well, I mean, this year was kind of meh. You know, I mean, do you have something specific you want to talk about? Bring it up. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going on about Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's one of those games it's been the exact same game ever since the first Spider-Man game ever came out, right?
Right.
They've done nothing new to it, and yeah, like they upgraded it with the latest Spider-Man and Miles Morales. We got like neat Spider-Man skins and things like that, but I mean, it's still the same rehashed game over and over again. And you're seeing this in the gaming industry. Modern Warfare 3, how many times has that been released? Like, yeah. We've all played Modern Warfare 3 by now. We've all played, all these other games. At least, when they were coming out with these games, when they had to come up with a new game, and then they had to work and do this. And now, like Lloyd is saying, they're just trying to find this way to like repackage this stuff, make you pay for all these microtransactions, get you in this like subscription deal, and just do the least amount of work and get as much money as they can off of it. And it's like, no, make the damn product, make the game,
Right. I mean, I'm going to tell you. Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
I'm going to still enjoy my Space Invaders. You guys can play with
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, the biggest thing is, like, think about the fact that, like we said, Baldur's Gate 3 was a lower budget game. Atom RPG, that was a lower budget game. I mentioned it earlier. I have a whole library on Steam of lower budget games that were made real cheap, and they're really fun, and they're simple, and it's just because the whole thing is they talk about a 60-second loop or less. So every 60 seconds in a game, there should be something that's fun for you. Even if it's okay. The easiest way to do that is to make the game simple. Okay. So you have all these low budget games. And like you're saying, they're repackaging and everything, and then so big budget companies are repackaging everything over and over again. Think about the small companies. So along with that, then you have the small companies getting gouged by Unity, trying to make more money. And I definitely get the idea of, like, I started a business recently. I totally get the idea of, like, I need to make money, okay, but it's bad for the game industry to basically pull the ladder up, is what I'm trying to say. With smaller game developers.
If you don't give your developers the space to create something, and you don't give them the ability to profit off of that, then you aren't going to have a product at all. You're just like shooting yourself and self-suiciding the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that the gaming industry, actually, though, to tell you the truth, it's not doing bad. It's bigger than the movie industry. It's a 300. I think the last number I heard was $360 billion industry, which is multiple times bigger than the movie industry. The biggest problem is that the best stuff is we're starting to get to the point now. We're starting to get to the point now where the best stuff is the lower budget stuff, and it's almost like a bubble is forming, like back in the 80s when I think like Atari fell. That was like a huge deal in the 80s for the same reasons: bigger budgets, less creativity, and less innovation and all that. So, all right. Well, let me ask you this then. So as we go in Game Awards, all right. So there are three of us are gamers. Well, I know that other Mike games as well. So Lloyd, maybe you can sit this one out, or maybe you do have an input. But tell me, what is everybody's favorite game for this year?
Modern Warfare 3. That's all I play.
Okay, Modern Warfare 3. All right. Okay, Call of Duty. Oh, is that Matt? Matt, are you still talking, or you turned off your camera?
Yeah, I'm saying goodbye.
Oh, okay, all right. Matt's got to go. Yeah, we're gonna close up. Matt says Call of Duty. All right, Matt. You have a good one. Thank you for being here. God bless you, buddy. You have a good night. Okay.
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah. So, what was your favorite game this year, Salty Skipper?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, Baldur's Gate 3. What about you, Tommy Boy?
I didn't really play any games from this year.
No?
I play all the older games.
And I'm going to tell you the truth. That's the thing. That's the thing, too, is that older games tended to have a little bit more character because the budgets were smaller and you could take a chance and do something innovative, and then you wouldn't have to worry about making so much money. My game of the year this year, honestly, it would almost have... It's hard for me because I actually want to say God of War Ragnarok, but that was last year. Spider-Man 2, I was actually disappointed in. The one that I've enjoyed the most playing on my going through all the games I'm playing on my channel and stuff was Aliens Dark Descent, which isn't even mentioned, but I think that game was awesome. It was a top-down alien shooter. I really loved that. Yeah. Let's talk about the game of the year this year was Baldur's Gate at the Game Awards, followed up by Alan Wake 2. This is Alan Wake 2. Nobody played. Marvel Spider-Man 2. People were disappointed in. I do know that there was a good. I mean, I know that it got a lot of numbers and it was praised. It was basically like the same thing, but a little less than the first one. Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and then The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom is interesting. I think that it probably could have gone to Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom, but I think that Baldur's Gate 3 was a good choice. So, okay, there we go for video games. Now I want to ask you guys, let's talk about movies. What was your favorite movie, Lloyd, this year?
You mean 2023?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing so I'm going to tell you, I retired this year from the military. Well, I didn't retire, but I got out of the military and got my pension and got out. And now everything melds together, so I can never remember what... I can never remember...
Everything melding together with me also because I watch so much video.
Yeah.
I don't even go to the theater as much as I used to, so I see so much on TV, and I've started seeing a combination of 1940s movies, and I'm just going through all these alternate genres. It's really crazy. But in terms of something that I found entertaining, it was the Spider-Man movie that had the 3 Spider-Mans. I forgot what that was called, though.
Oh, yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home. No Way Home. I would agree. Did that come out? Let me just see. That's okay. I'll give it to you. That's fine. Let me see it.
Oh, that might be
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yeah, that was 2021. I was like, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That was the one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I haven't enjoyed it since then.
Man, I'm going to say, what even were 2023 movies? That's how bad the movie industry has become. Where you honestly have to go to yourself,
COVID thing threw everything through a loop.
Oh no, I have my favorite movie of 2023. Don't worry.
What do you got? What do you got, Steven?
So my favorite movie from 2023 was Cocaine Bear.
I've got to tell you, that was a good movie. Other Mike, did you see that movie? Everybody else said it was good. Did you see that movie, Cocaine Bear?
No, I didn't go see Cocaine Bear. Honestly, it looks stupid to me, but you can watch it you want. I just kind of dumb.
I'm going to tell you, no, but it is. I'm going to tell you this. It is dumb.
I thought it was stupid too.
Yeah. No, I'm going to tell you, it was stupid, but it was good stupid. It was like Forget About a Man. It was. I think that Cocaine Bear was great, especially because it was based on true events, very, very loosely. Yeah.
I got.
What do you got? You got one from this year? Okay. What's your from this year?
Saltburn.
Saltburn. Okay.
Yeah, that was Saltburn. In that it's a drama, and it takes you. You think it's so obviously taking you down one path, and it takes such a huge, hard right, left turn, and it's just I wind up. It's a lot deeper in terms of. I don't want to give the movie away.
Yeah.
I've seen Salt.
Okay. Okay. How about you, other Mike? What do you got?
And there were so many of them. I just wrote down something that I liked personally. I liked the Indiana Jones movie. I thought it was really done. I liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movie that came out. Mission Impossible, John Wick 4. I like the one movie, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which was really a cool movie. I put down Creed 3, but I mean, there's so many of them that I liked. I don't know if there's one that stood out that was absolutely the best, but there were a lot of good movies that Equalizer I thought was good too. So there was a lot of good movies. A lot of them on Netflix too. I mean, and other things like that. And there's some good stuff there that didn't make it to the movie theater. So I don't have a absolute favorite movie. There was just a lot of great movies that I liked.
I can say what the worst was that I saw in 2020.
Cocaine Bear.
Okay.
After I see it, I'll show that. The Exorcist Believer.
Oh yeah, I couldn't finish that. I couldn't even finish it.
Wait, The Exorcist Believer, is that the one with the two girls?
Yeah. Yeah, I started watching that. I couldn't even get into it. Like I made about 10 minutes into it. Like, oh, listen now, I'm good.
Pure D garbage. It had no right. It was just an excuse to make a movie and they stuck the title.
Oh. Yeah. So as soon as I saw it, I looked at the two girls, and the one girl, both of them looked like they were almost Muppets, and I was like, I'm out. The makeup on them made it look like they were Muppets to me. Tommy Boy, what's your favorite?
Hands down, my favorite. I watch it almost every night still. Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that was good too.
That was a great movie.
That was pretty good.
Love it.
Do you know why that movie didn't do well?
Why?
It's exactly one of the reasons that movie actually didn't do well is exactly what we were talking about. The director came out and said some political stuff that was unrelated to the movie. And then everybody was like, okay, we're not going to see it then. And then they didn't. And actually, that movie was awesome. That movie was great.
Yeah.
So,
if you're watching it every night, it's probably going to go back up again.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I really seriously watch it every night.
Yeah, and it felt like a D&D game. You're going through the moments, and if you play D&D, you're sitting there like, oh my god, like I know what's going on now.
So I will say for my favorite this year, it was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then actually you brought it up, and I hadn't even thought about it, but yeah, Dungeons & Dragons was really good. I would say that Dungeons & Dragons is my second. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3, probably followed by the Aquaman, but yeah, my best is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Lloyd said that The Exorcist. Anybody else got one that they for sure know was their least favorite?
I watched Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage, and I was so pumped up for it, but then I watched it, I'm like, this is probably dumber than Cocaine Bear. So.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
Was The Flash in 2023?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. My least favorite, The Flash is a good one for my least favorite, but I liked the Batman in it.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting to bring him back.
Yeah.
The Gray.
I think
The story was fine. It was just all the absolutely atrocious CGI where it was like not even needed, and you could just put the actor in there. I would rather see the actor run in place. No CGI.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the Kal-El character. I mean, I couldn't get why she was even in the movie most of the time.
Right. I think it was to introduce her, yeah.
It's like you knew there was not going to be another movie or a sequel with her in it. That was weird.
Yeah.
I would say that my least. Oh, I was just going to tell you guys too. By the way, because I didn't say this before, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I picked it because you know what the thing is that you watch the stuff with Rocket and you watch the stuff with some of the other characters, and I actually cried. I love movies.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I love movies to the point. I love movies to the point of even movies that maybe you guys wouldn't think are a big deal. Like I'll watch them and I'll get emotional. If they touch me, and that movie really, I was like, oh, this is good.
It had a lot more depth than most of them, so I cried on that one too.
So my Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Okay.
That was the final Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Yeah.
I watched my eyes just watered.
Wait, when you're what?
My eyes just water. I didn't cry. They just watered.
They were sweating.
A little eye sweat.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to tell you this. So my least favorite. So my least favorite was Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I actually just watched that. I never watched it. I watched it the other day just because I saw it on a stream. I think it was Max. I watched it, and my big thing was that the original ones with Michael Bay, they were all about the Transformers, and it was all, I am Optimus Prime, and they would fight, and maybe it was mindless. But I mean, you got Optimus Prime, Megatron, you will die. Okay, and you got them fighting. Rise of the Beasts was almost completely about the humans.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, people have been saying, why don't we just make a Transformers movie without the humans? And it's just the Transformers fighting each other on Cybertron or something. Mm-hmm. And they won't do it. And then this movie went in the opposite direction. They're like, how about we give the audience exactly the opposite of what they're asking for, and we're going to make a movie with Transformers in it, but we're going to put them so far in the background you almost can't see them throughout the movie. That was my least favorite. And that's why it was. So, okay, cool. So, for the awards though, I'll give you the nominations for movies, and then I'll tell you what it was. So, the nominations were Top Gun: Maverick, and that one great movie and made a lot of money. Women Talking, which, by the way, Women Talking made no money. The Banshees of Inisherin was highly rated, and I believe it did make its money back, but it didn't make a huge amount of money. Triangle of Sadness, I've never even heard of. The Fabelmans. Was no. I mean, it was nothing. I don't know anything about it. I know what it's about, but it's like it was a nothing burger. All Quiet on the Western Front. Avatar: The Way of the Water. I definitely get why it was nominated because of the CGI and stuff. But I do not. I absolutely do not understand.
All Quiet was this year?
Yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front. Elvis.
Man, I thought that was last year. That was an excellent movie. It was amazing.
Yeah, Elvis. Wait a minute. Was it Elvis? Yeah, Elvis.
Elvis
Wait a minute. Why are these?
Yeah, okay. 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it was counted in the 20. It was counted in the nominees for this year.
Yeah.
Must have been based on when it was released.
No, are you serious? Are these last year's? Oh, wait, one second. They're telling me. Wait, is it the 2023 Oscars? Just a second. I see. No, wait. Okay, so is it? Then are they numbered 2024? Is that the thing?
Yeah, probably. Yep, it is. So
is that what it is?
They coming up for 24, yeah.
Okay, one second. Let me fix this. Then I'm sorry. I had this totally backwards.
I thought Maverick was a little bit longer ago than that.
Yeah. Well, wait. Didn't the Oscars just happened though? Or was
I
it?
think it was the gold. It was the Golden Globes.
Oh, see, that's what I was going to say. Okay. The Oscars take place in February, March. Oh, you know what? It was the Golden Globes. I added this section, this part today. So okay, never mind. We'll have to see what happens though. Then with the movies, with the Oscars. That's my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I totally messed that up. Aren't the Golden Globes? The Golden Globes. Let me see. Golden Globes. Best Picture. Best Picture 2024. Christopher. Okay, so Oppenheimer won at the Golden Globes this year. Do you know the Golden Globes is just movies and series like TV shows put together? You know what I'm saying?
They run them both at the same time.
Well, no, I'm saying like there was the Oscars for movies, and then there was the Emmys for TV shows, and then the Golden Globes was let's do a show where we do both of them together. That's my bad. I'm sorry. Okay, so the Golden Globes Best Picture was Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Totally get that. All nominations. The nominations were all movies that I've never seen. Let me see. Best Motion Picture: Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, and Zone of Interest. The only one that I've even heard of was Oppenheimer. Yeah, all of these are like that. What the heck?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Also, Best Director and Actor, Supporting Actor. Yeah, so Oppenheimer won a bunch of stuff. In the chat, Promanthenos is telling me that Oppenheimer was boring. Did anybody watch Oppenheimer?
No. Yeah, I went to the theater to see it.
He is right. It got long and boring. They needed to trim about a half hour off of it. It went too deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. There was a lot of good drama in it and some twists, but you find yourself sitting there saying, "When are they going to blow up the bomb? They're going to blow up the bomb." It did not be like the high point, the climax, and they didn't make that the absolute end. But it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to sit here and wait 3 hours for them to blow up the bomb. It's okay. To me, it was okay.
It needed an intermission.
Yeah, like they had
back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we ran a little long. I said 2 hours or 2 hours plus. I think 3 hours and 11 minutes was good. Tommy Boy's got to talk a little bit more. That's all.
Oppenheimer.
Whatever.
Yeah. So listen, guys, I'm gonna go over some stuff. So I want to say thank you guys all for coming. Seriously, it's a big deal. This is a medium that I really, really care about. In both movies and video games, because movies is being told a story, and being able to be inspired by stories is an amazing thing. And then video games is being able to play the story and create the story for yourself. And again, that's an amazing thing. And so I really love this stuff, and seeing the industry. Everything comes and goes in waves in quality. I totally get that. But when the industry gets in its down peak, sometimes I just kind of stop and think about it. And it's like, I get sad because it's like, what are we telling ourselves? The stories. What stories are we telling ourselves?
We have come to the point whereas the best movie that will be able, the safest movie that's going to come out next would be Tetris.
You know, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Russian. It's Russian. You can't.
It's Russian. That's right. Yeah. So listen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy to have had all you guys here. I want to give a shout out to so some other people that were here was Oscar Mike Radio. He had to head out early. But Oscar Mike Radio, go check him out. A veteran podcast, talks about veterans. I'm a veteran. Other Mike is a veteran. Salty Skipper's a veteran. Tommy Boy. Actually, the only one that's not a veteran right now here with us is Lloyd, but that's okay.
Come on,
Lloyd.
You're on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
I'm planning on this thing.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so yeah, go support them. Check out Lloyd A. Green, Endless Perceptions, Lloyd A. Green on YouTube. I watch his videos. I really like you have the concise video, so I appreciate that. You do the 5 to 10 minute videos, which I love. My videos, I know I get a criticism that sometimes they're too long, but I appreciate everything you do. And then of course I'm always mentioning Tales of Nihilism. Go check those guys out. And Lloyd, we got to get you back on because I got to get another one of your books. I'm gonna order another one of your books, and because now I'm doing full time. I have time to like read more and video edit more. Yeah. Well, and then we'll do another review. Yeah. So, but yeah, okay, everybody. If you guys want to say goodbye, goodbye to everybody, and we'll close out for the night. So, go from top left across. So.
Well, thank you very much for having me, man. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
I'll see you next year.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Always.
Yeah. Appreciate having you.
Absolutely. Salty Skipper signing out.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, buddy. Other Mike, you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Okay, I didn't know if we're going clockwise or what.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Thank you so much for watching this. God bless you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Michael, for letting me be the other Mike on your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Tommy Boy.
Always a pleasure. I really enjoy doing it, even though I don't really say much. But this was awesome. This was absolutely awesome hearing everybody here. It was a good time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I really, really appreciate it. This is great. Always trying to improve, so any critiques or anything that you guys have in the audience, let us know as well in the comments and stuff like that. But, so that's what we've got tonight, guys. Thank you for watching. Like I said, support our partners. Supporting our partners is supporting us. So do all of that. But from the bottom of our hearts over here at Mike's After Action Reviews, we do just want to thank you all one last time and say, God bless you all, and have a good night. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and join the Discord where you can voice chat with me while I live stream, and you won't be recorded or anything on YouTube and Twitch, so that's pretty cool. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you like to read, you can see my After Action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in the description below.